Let's see. So I think now we are live and we do have 1 minute, and I just want to welcome everyone to our Friday afternoon session, closing out the week of our NTI schedule. If you are joining us, please jump in the chat. Please tell us where you are from, and we love for you to invite others as well. So this session, we do have 1 minute, and I am checking to make sure that everyone is hearing me. I think we can. Yep. So again, drop any questions that you may have for our special guest. Feel free to introduce yourself, where you are from, and we would love to connect with you. I am super excited about this session. This session, if I go to the schedule, and again, you can get to the schedule by jcps.me/NTI. Click on the NTI Teacher Toolkit. Go to virtual training schedule, and we're going to scroll over to Friday. So this session is about helping elementary students learn from home with Laura. And I am super excited about this session because I too have an elementary student at home, and I will make sure to take all the tips that you have from us. So without further ado, I am now going to turn it over to Laura. And thank you so much, Laura, for joining our show.
Well, thanks for having me. So my name is Laura Donnelly. I'm the counselor at Kenwood Elementary, and Brandy Kalin, our AIC, is going to be helping me with the chat box because I can't see it while I'm presenting. So she's going to help answer some questions, and hopefully we'll be able to knock those out pretty quickly. Brandy is great at that. So again, I'm Laura Donnelly, the counselor at Kenwood. I always say best school in JCPS. So I'm going to start screen sharing and go from there. Okay, present. Okay, so this first PowerPoint is for students. So learning at home, how will I do that? And this is tips for students. Before I start, I'm just going to put a plug in like I did yesterday for Screencastify. When I made this PowerPoint, I did a voiceover using Screencastify just to make it personalized, so that just like I would do in a presentation in person, I don't want to put a ton of text on the slide. So this using the voiceover allows me to add other things that I would say in a normal presentation, and also allows students just to hear my voice. In this time of distance learning, it's nice just to have that personal connection. So if you've not already taken the Screencastify course on the JCPS NTI portal, I really encourage you to do that because it's just really amazing.
I totally agree. Screencastify is great. And Laura, if you don't mind, if you can turn on closed captioning for us.
Yes.
Oh, yep. Awesome. Yes, Screencastify is awesome. It's an awesome tool to use with your teachers and students.
Okay, so yes, I do love Screencastify for that reason. So here we go. All right, so I started with learning targets, just like I would in a classroom. What we hope to accomplish, that students will learn strategies for at-home learning, and then they will select 3 or more strategies to practice at home. So the first strategy that I gave And even though some of these may sound like common sense, everything right now in our world is not normal. So even if it seems like common sense, it may not even occur to our students or our families. Just an example, I was at the grocery store the other day and I pushed my shopping cart up. I was trying to stay 6 feet back from the person in front of me. And when they were finished, I hadn't unloaded any of my groceries. And I looked at the cashier and I said, "I'm so sorry. I'm so out of sorts." And she said, "I can't imagine why." But our families, I'm sure, are feeling that way right now too. So even though a strategy may seem kind of simple, it's just a nice reminder to give right now. So the first one is to find a quiet space. There may not be a perfect space in their house, but asking them to find a place that has the least amount of noise, or maybe a place where they really have the best chance of focusing on their work. And that may look different for every student. The second one is asking if students have headphones. And a lot of our students, even though they're in elementary school, do have headphones. They bring them to school with them. We see them all the time, so I know that they've got them. So if they have headphones, listening to soft music can help. I use in classroom guidance or classroom counseling, I often use just some YouTube relaxing music, and it stays on for a while. It's just nice to have in the background. And I use this as a learner too. So I always make sure to mention this in classroom counseling. It's always an option for them to do with me there. But especially right now, for students that have large families, lots of siblings, a lot going on in their homes, having headphones to play some soft music in the background, it would be really helpful. Obviously, not everybody may have access to headphones, but if they do, this would be a good strategy to use. Okay, so the next one is something that we always practice. So this is personal for our students because I do this a lot in classroom counseling, or in something that we call collaborative conversations, where we start our mornings on the day that a grade level has chosen, where teachers are able to meet with interventionists that don't have common planning. I have the entire grade. So in that session, it's first thing in the morning. They've not even been to their classrooms yet. So we practice setting an intention or a goal for the day. So I always ask them to think about yesterday. Was there something that didn't go so well? Or can you feel your body's really is moving a lot this morning, or you're really anxious or nervous about something? What is it that you really want to try and accomplish today? So by setting a positive intention or a goal, it kind of just gives them the outlook, what they want to accomplish for that day. So maybe it's just that they want to focus or find a space that's quieter than yesterday. Or maybe it's that they want to try harder in math or reading because yesterday was really a struggle. Whatever it is, I'm asking students to set their intention or the goal for the day. This next one is just the basic how to log into the assignment. And I pushed this out to students before the first week of NTI. So some of this has changed, but at the beginning, obviously, we want all of our students to be accessing that Kenwood NTI portal. So I have the little Google site icon to the side to match with that. And then kindergarten, first, and second grade at that time, we're all using Class Dojo for most of their communication and to submit their work in the class portfolios. Second grade has now moved to third, fourth, and fifth grade to Google Classroom. So that would be an update if I sent this out again. But I wanted to match the picture icon with the text also, just to help families recognize what they were looking for. Because even though they've got the words there, sometimes it's difficult just to navigate unless you have that picture icon to associate with. So this was just a basic how to log into your assignment. And the next one says stuck on your assignment. I wanted to make sure students knew exactly what to do and how to access their teachers. So teachers have spent so much time making videos or how-tos to give their kids information. I wanted to make sure that students knew to check all of that stuff first, because likely their teacher has already explained it. So if they watch those videos, read the information first, they may find an answer that they weren't aware of. The next one is to ask an adult or older sibling at home if they're able to. And this isn't a strategy that all kids will have access to, and I understand that. But if they do, this could be a strategy that they use. And then the next one is still stuck. Your teacher is here to help. So I'm encouraging students to check for their office hours to see when they're available. A lot of our teachers are using Google Meet, and they're just keeping that open for students to pop in during their office hours when they have a question or they need help with something. So highlighting the office hours is really important because that's brand new. Students have never used those before. And really families haven't either. So we wanted to make sure that we kind of explained what those were and how to access your teacher during that. The next one is feeling overwhelmed. This experience has been overwhelming for lots of us. I know it's been overwhelming for me. I have a 2-year-old here at home, and lots of us have families while we're working, and it's overwhelming because we're not used to this, and that's okay. Our families and our students aren't used to this either. So if students are feeling overwhelmed, I wanted to give them strategies of how to reduce some of that. So take a break or walk away for a minute. Something as simple as that when you're frustrated can really go a long way. Our students are used to using GoNoodle quite a bit. The channels that I usually highlight for them are either the movement break activities that they all love to be the one to choose, or the flow channel. And on the flow channel, that has opportunities for students to do some deep breathing and really just calm not only their breath, but their whole body. And then the last one is a strategy that we use in collaborative conversations as well, or classroom counseling. So when I want students to calm, to be able to focus on something that's really important, the main takeaway for the day, we take some deep breaths to make sure that everybody's calm, their bodies are a little bit calmer than before, and they're ready to access the information. So we call it either finding your anchor, where they put a hand on their chest and a hand on their belly, or they put both hands on their belly to make sure that they're really taking those good deep belly breaths. And then we take 3 of them, in for 3 and out for 3. The last thing that says, or take a rainbow breath, that's a GoNoodle flow channel activity. And a lot of our classroom teachers use that for transitions. And it's basically matching their breathing with a movement. So they're making a rainbow with their arms. So I wanted to add that because that's a familiar term to a lot of our students. And then I wanted to add this reminder that this is new for all of us. So we're all learning and growing together. Our teachers, Ms. Donnelly, our students, everybody's learning. So I wanted to make sure that they knew right now, we're just expecting that they stay in contact if they can and try their best. And that's it. And we're all going to do our best to work together to move forward and learn and grow together. And then this was just a learning extension that I gave. So I asked them to choose one of the strategies that we discussed and convince someone else why this is important for learning. So they could write about it, draw about it, create a pic collage, make a movie. They could choose any way to show their understanding. And students submitted their this activity in the format that their classroom teachers were using. So either through Class Dojo or through Google Classroom. And it was really fun to see the strategies that they had chosen. And some students wrote about it. Some had their parents take a picture of them. And it was just really nice to see their faces and what they took away. And then this one was just a general idea of how to reach me. So lots of families have needs right now. So I wanted to make sure that this list was all encompassing. They can message me on Class Dojo, which is really kind of our hub for communication at Kenwood. And I'm linked to every classroom. So parents can private message me. They can respond to messages on our school story. There are just different ways there. Then they also have the option to schedule an appointment during my office hours for a phone or video chat. And then this link right here is a link to my Google Calendar where I set up appointment time slots so they can sign up just by clicking a button. The next one is my Google Voice number, so they can call or text that phone. And then I created a new counselor Instagram to reach out to our students as well. A lot of our 4th and 5th graders are on there, so it gives me an option to create a story at the beginning of the day to say, hey, this is what's going on today. Make sure you checked it out. And then these are just the credits for the things that I've used. So I'm going to switch to the next presentation that I'm pushing out today. I was hoping to do this yesterday and it didn't happen. It's the same kind of thing, but it's tips for parents instead of students.
That is awesome. And while you're switching to that, I just want to say thank you for sharing those tips. I definitely learned and I tweeted it out about how to set goals for our students. I know right now, like that just encouraged me that I need to set a goal for my kindergarten so she can complete the task and she won't feel so overwhelmed. And then definitely those deep breathing activities, making sure your hands are on your hips so we can ensure that students are taking the deep breath in and out, feeling calm, relaxed, and feeling secure with themselves. There are a lot of great comments on the YouTube chat. A lot of great people from Kenwood Elementary. I know Kenwood is so lucky to have you. I am really inspired by you.
So that's very sweet. Yeah, I think it's really, some of these, again, may seem really common or simple, but they really do, they're strategies that really do work. And they're things that our students are used to using during the school day. So I just wanted to remind them of those things. But this next PowerPoint, let me turn on the closed captions. So this next one was really just based on some feedback from families that we're getting, because a lot of families are really overwhelmed. This is way outside of everyone's comfort zone. It's not something that we're used to. So I wanted to make sure that parents are feeling empowered as well as our students. So this one has some similar information, but a little bit of extension just for parents in general. So again, I'm going to use a Screencastify just to voice over this PowerPoint so that parents can hear my voice. And again, that just gives that personalized touch. And then it allows me to limit the amount of text that I have, and just like in a presentation, add extra personal details just with my voice. So I'm excited to get this done today and get this out to families. Okay, so this was just what we hope to accomplish for families to decrease frustration of at-home learning for both you and your child. So the first one is the same as the first 4 students. Help your child find a quiet space. So again, they may not have a perfect space, but what's the space that has the least amount of noise that would really help students focus or concentrate while they're working? Again, this one's the same as this student. This one is updated because it's new and going out to parents hopefully today. But this has the updated information with where students are submitting their assignments. So obviously we want people to be accessing that Kenwood NTI portal. Kindergarten and first grade are still using Class Dojo to submit and communicate for the majority of the part with their families. And then 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade are using Google Classroom. Okay, so the next one was create a schedule. And if you are on social media, you've probably been inundated with this because there have been so many people posting their kids' schedules, but our families may not have seen that or thought about this as an idea. So hopefully Brandy Kaylin is okay with me giving her a shout out for this sample daily schedule for her own child. But one of the most important things, and I think you said this just a second ago, that your daughter feels overwhelmed, but if she has a goal, it would be a lot easier to kind of contain that. But Brandy made sure to add check boxes next to her daughter's assignments or her daily schedule, so that when she's done with something, she has the option to check it off. And if you've ever made a to-do list, I don't know about you, but for me, checking off an item on a to-do list is just so satisfying because I know it's done. It's just that extra visual. And our kids like that too. So I know there were some comments yesterday asking about the amount of time for the daily schedule. And I think that really just depends. You may have to work around with it, tweak it a little bit. But I think Ms. Kalen said yesterday 20 to 30 minutes for a subject area or a task is probably a good place to start. And if not, if it needs to be changed after that, you could go back through and do that. The full schedule, because this is just a quick screenshot to give a good view of this, is linked here. And then our assistant principal gave me another example. Let me present this. And she has 2 children. So instead of having a Google Doc for theirs, they used a whiteboard. And again, they use the checkboxes too. Her kids really love that. She said as soon as they're finished with the task, they go straight over and they mark off on that checkbox. And this has their whole day, even their tablet time at night, their bedtime. So everything's included on there. Okay, the next strategy is just to start small. So we've had some feedback from families saying, I can't get my child to do any work. And we completely sympathize with them because that happens often with us too. But just like we have to do in the classroom, some families may need to make some modifications and added supports at home as well. So 20 to 30 minutes of work time may be too much, especially if a parent's having trouble getting their child to do anything at all. So starting in short increments is going to be really important for those families. They can start with 5 minutes, they can start with 10 minutes and then take a break. And then I wanted to make sure that they knew if you don't have a timer at home, that's okay. A lot of our families were able to access the Chromebooks from the district, which was amazing. So they have that access to technology. So they can Google timer. For this one specifically, I just Googled rainbow timer, and this one didn't have music. There were some others that had music in the background that I thought was really distracting and a lot of movement on the screen. So it'll be important for them to choose one that fits best for them. But I embedded this into the PowerPoint so that, or the Google side, so that if they wanted to use this one, they don't have to go anywhere else. It's already embedded and they can just use it straight from here. The next strategy, we really want to streamline communication a little bit better because a lot of the questions we're getting from parents are the same. So we wanted to make sure that we have just a general list of how you can get answers to your questions. So a lot of our staff, almost all of our staff members have their office hours posted on our Kenwood NTI page. Actually, I think all of them do. But this was just a general idea of who they should contact and when. So for help with assignments, because I'm the school administrator on Class Dojo, I get a lot of questions that sometimes aren't meant for me. They're specific to assignments, which is okay. I can forward them to their teacher, but I think it's a little bit confusing because there are multiple people linked to a classroom sometimes. I don't think families always know who to message. So since they see a lot coming from me on the school story, I think I'm just the automatic go-to for questions, which is okay. I'm happy to do that. But I wanted to make sure that they knew if they needed help with an assignment specifically to contact their child's teacher. The next one was help with technology. Our teachers have done an amazing job of making how-to videos. A lot of them have related around to Google Meet because they're using those for classroom meetings. Others have been taking a picture to submit your work because a lot of our, at Kenwood, we have a 1-to-1 student to iPad ratio in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And so they're used to being able to take pictures from their tablet of their work and submit it, and it's really easy that way. But it's a little bit more tricky from a Chromebook or a laptop or something like that. So there are just different how-to videos that are specific to our student needs. So I wanted to make sure that families know exactly where to find that. So this is a link to our Kenwood NTI portal, and it's specific. It takes them straight to the technology help because Ms. Brown, who our STC, who developed that Google site, did an amazing job of really making everything have a specific spot. It's really user-friendly, but this just gives them that quick access to get there if they need help with technology. And then if they can't figure it out from there, they're always welcome to contact Ms. Brown or myself. Stuck on an assignment. So this is similar to what the student page said, but again, this is just new and improved based on feedback that we've had so far. So has your child watched all of the videos or read all the information their teacher sent first? Obviously, that's the first place that we want them to start, because a lot of questions will be answered there. If they're not, I've linked this technology help page again. I don't think I can link that enough, because there's so much good stuff there, and I want to make sure parents are able to access that. And then still stuck. Your child's teachers are here to help. So they have office hour appointments or join their Google Meet during that time. And on our Kenwood NTI page, under each teacher, it has a button that Ms. Brown created. So all that families have to do is press that button, and it takes them straight into that Google Meet during their teachers' office hours. So that's not something that I've said here, because I felt like it would be too much text, but when I do the voiceover with Screencastify, that's something that I'm going to add. And then feeling overwhelmed. So most of this is the same, but I wanted to add an extension specifically for Go Noodle here, because our students know how to use it in the classroom when their teacher pulls it up. But especially for our younger students, they may not know exactly how to get there. So giving parents that access of going to Go Noodle and create an account. Lots of kids like to choose their own activity, so this is perfect. They get to do that. And then I also, I didn't link it here. I was just working on this right before, because this is the last thing that I wanted to add before I push this out to families. So I'm going to go out of this presentation, because I think this is the last slide. Yeah, the rest is the same. And just show, I know we talk about self-care all the time as teachers or administrators or just people who work in a school. We talk about self-care a lot, but our families may not see self-care as something that they're able to do right now. And so I wanted to give some just small examples of what they can do to practice self-care. So these are just two small examples that I borrowed from Instagram, but the people that created them have their Instagram handle in there, so the source is cited, if you will. But I wanted to make sure that I put self-care isn't selfish, because a lot of this is really overwhelming right now. And to be our best selves for our kids, we have to practice self-care as parents and adults right now too. So these were just some simple ways in a visual format, so that hopefully parents can see something on here that really appeals to them and try to practice some self-care. I'm going to make sure that I mention on that voiceover that it doesn't matter if it's only 5 to 10 minutes, that it's 5 to 10 minutes that's necessary for you. And you have to take that time for you so that you can be your very best self for your students. Okay. So the rest, the rest of this PowerPoint is the same, so you can see that. The only other thing that I wanted to share was at the end of each lesson that I'm pushing out, I'm going to start including the student exit slip, and then teachers are also using this, but just to get feedback. So as a counselor, it's really important for me to be able to assess the needs of our students, socially and emotionally, as well as academically. So this is just one of the examples of the primary, a form that you can use for primary students, or students who struggle with reading, or for students who aren't proficient in English. They may speak another first language. So this gives them the option, instead of having to try to find their teacher's name, it just has a quick picture. They can select their teacher. And then this is just a short screencastify. I don't know that I've said screencastify enough, but I absolutely love it. I'm a little bit obsessed. This just explains the next question, what I'm asking, and their answer choices. So then they can select the emoji about how they felt about their work today. And then another just short screencastify explaining the next question, why did you feel this way? And then again, the picture icons. Maybe they felt really confident, so they didn't need help, or maybe they were really struggling with their reading or math or submitting an assignment on Google Classroom. Whatever it is, they have that checkbox. And they can check all of them if they need to. And then the last one is there anything you want to tell me? So I left this really open-ended, and I'm hoping if students are really struggling with anxiety or even basic needs, that they're able to tell me a little bit here to give an indication so that I know to check in with them. So that's the gist of what I have to share with you today. I can't see the chat box, so have there been questions that I need to address?
There has been questions, but they have been taken care of. Mainly, how do I remind my student how to turn in an assignment into Google Classroom? And there's just been a lot of compliments. Elaine Abernathy said that she's going to share this powerful episode for all elementary teachers, which I totally agree. I really like your emojis. Exit slip, because students can relate to that, like you were saying in the beginning. So thank you for that presentation. We took away a lot of great tips.
Well, good. I'm so glad. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. Have a happy Friday.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you. If you are just joining us, let's take a look at the schedule for the day. And again, you can get to that schedule from the JCPS NTI support page. And then click on Teach Your Toolkit, and it is right here at the virtual training schedule. So once you click on that schedule, it will bring you to the schedule for the week. And as you can see, we do have episodes lined up for the week of April 20th and the week after that. So what's coming up next is the TLC during NTI with Miss Lamessa March-Johns and Miss Jennifer Driscoll. Without further ado, welcome, ladies, and I will now turn it over to you.
All right. Hello. How are you?
Great.
How's everybody doing?
We're great.
All right. Happy Friday. As a matter of fact, happy Friday, right?
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. Well, my name is Lamessa Marks-Johns, and I'm in charge of social emotional learning and trauma-informed care with our district. And I'll let Jennifer introduce herself to you.
Hey guys, I'm Jennifer Driscoll. I'm a resource teacher with social emotional learning and trauma-informed care.
Awesome. And so we also have Lisa McGarry with us, and she's going to help us with the PowerPoint. And also in our chat room, we have Shay Johnson. And so she's there to answer any questions that you may have. All right, so we're going to go on and get started in talking about trauma-informed care practices during this time of non-traditional instruction. Sorry about that. And so here is our contact information. We will actually share our contact information here in the beginning, and at the end of the presentation, it just will provide you more opportunities to catch our names and be able to email us if you need us. All right, so here are our training goals. During this training, we will review the basic elements of trauma. We will discuss new areas of concern, or some areas of concern as it relates to our trauma-exposed students in this virtual platform, and also find some strategies that will support our trauma-exposed students during this time. Jen is going to share some of those with you all. Every time we talk about trauma, we always do what we call a self-care alert, because whenever you talk about trauma, you think about trauma. And so this can cause you to feel uncomfortable. It can cause you to have some, emotions that are sad. And so if that happens, we say, please feel free to step out and take a break. Just step away from your computer. Talk to someone you trust. You can either go into the chat box and talk to Shay and ask her some questions, or please feel free to text or phone a friend to kind of help you to calm, or you can do something relaxing. We suggest some intentional breathing, inhaling and exhaling, to try to release those thoughts from your mind and from your heart, and get yourself calm. All right, so in our chat box, we would like for you to kind of list some of your concerns that you may have about teaching our trauma-exposed students during this time. And we can answer them either throughout as you see them, or someone sees them, our wonderful moderator, if she sees them and wants to stop and ask us those questions, or we can kind of answer those questions at the end as well. So think about that. What are some of your concerns? All right, so what is trauma? What is trauma? So this is how we are defining trauma. Now, this is not the only definition of trauma, but this is how we have chosen, in collaboration with the University of Kentucky Center on Trauma and Children, to define trauma. And it is witnessing or experiencing an event that poses a real or a perceived threat of death, serious injury, or sexual violation. And so, of course, we know that this event, or every event, really is unique to the individual's perception. So let's think about our students now during this time of quarantine and social distancing. It could impact some of our students differently than others, because really it just depends on the individual. We always like to say that really trauma is in the eye of the beholder. Some of our students, and even some of our adults, may be perceiving this event, this time of really our national pandemic, as being extremely traumatizing, especially for those who have a more extroverted type of personality. Being in the house is extremely difficult for some. For people like me, I am an extrovert, but I'm kind of an introverted extrovert. And so I don't mind it so much. Of course, I like to, interact with people. I'm a relationship person. I love to have fun. But I also, in my spare time, I'm a couch potato in my spare time, and a coffee drinker, and a judge show watcher. So that's what I like to do in my downtime. And so this time it can get bad for me because I miss the interaction with people, but I also like the quiet times as well. So you really have to think about your individual students and how they are perceiving this time. And also think about yourself, be self-aware, know yourself, and know how, your thoughts and feelings about this time as well. All right, so here are some areas of concern that Jen is going to talk to you all about. One, some concerns of our students that have trauma usually is around three areas. It's around safety, it's around worth, and shoot, I'm drawing a blank. Help me out, Jen. Competency and worth. I'm sorry. Safety, competency, and worth. When you get old, some things just escape your mind and then they fly back. So, and so really this sense of safety is extremely important. It's extremely important for our students who have trauma exposures. And not so much physical safety, but a lot of it has to do, and some of it could be physical safety, of course, but most of it is around the area of psychological safety and emotional safety. And really, in this virtual platform, it could be a lot of academic safety as well. And so this whole sense of safety is really a huge concern. And also, Jen is going to talk to you about the importance of connections and our students' issues around worry and anxiety, and really a loss of community and not being able to be around those that they have authentic relationships with, which of course includes the school, because the school is a safe place for a lot of our kids, and they have a lot of great relationships with teachers and with administrators and with each other. And so Jen is going to talk to you about those things and offer some strategies around those areas. All right, Jen, take it away.
All right, so as we dig into these different areas to consider, I want you to stop and think about how we work with our students who have severe trauma. But I want you to realize that we're not going to be able to work through these areas in the way that we would traditionally work with our students who have trauma exposure. But I also want you to stop and think about yourselves throughout this time period. When we think about students who have trauma, a lot of times we think about trauma as that thing over there, that thing that those people deal with, but it doesn't come right here. But trauma is right here as well. Because trauma is not just that thing that happens over there. Trauma is that thing that I see in the mirror every single day, because it happens to all of us. We like to say that trauma is an equal opportunity employer. So today, when we talk about different strategies that we can utilize when we're working with our trauma exposed students during NTI, I also want you to stop and reflect about how you could utilize some of these strategies in your own lives. Because trauma happens to all of us. And right now, we're kind of in the middle of it. So the very first area that we're going to stop and consider is this idea of safety. A sense of safety is the belief that your needs and the needs of those around you are going to be met. It's the belief that you're going to be protected from harm and that those around you will also be safe. Now, I want to stop and think about this one for just a second. How are our trauma-exposed students feeling right now that everything around them has completely shifted and changed? How could this time period be triggering for some of them? This is a really important time for us to stop and think about how our trauma-exposed students are being triggered, especially in this area of safety. Because we're not just dealing with this idea of physical safety, we're also thinking about how their psychological safety needs aren't being met or could be triggered, but also emotional safety. Because our students aren't just worrying about those things, they're also wondering, are my needs going to be met? Do I have food insecurities? When I wake up in the morning, I don't get to go to school and get 2 meals a day and talk to somebody that I know cares about me. Everything that they're used to has completely shifted. And in addition to that, a lot of our students who may not have experienced trauma before are experiencing traumas for maybe the very first time. Because this time period is incredibly scary for a lot of our students. And they're dealing with worries and anxieties that they've never before experienced because their lives have completely shifted and changed. And so they have brand new safety concerns concerning the virus, or maybe their parents have been laid off. And so they're wondering, where's that next meal going to come from? And so one of the things that we have to think about is, how can we meet the needs of our students throughout NTI? And so we've come up with a couple of different ways for you to support safety throughout this virtual learning platform. Now, we have always been that soft landing spot for our students. That classroom is a safe place. And so what we want you to think about is, how can we continue this practice throughout NTI? So I'm going to give you a couple of strategies. If you have some that you've been utilizing, please share them in the chat box. And I'm going to encourage this the entire time that we talk, because a great educator is nothing if we do not share and steal ideas from each other. All right? That's one of the hallmarks of great education. So one of the strategies is to provide space and encourage students to talk about their safety concerns. When we let them know that it's okay for them to talk, they're going to be more apt to let you know how they're feeling and what's going on. And all of that happens within the context of a great relationship. And you may not be that person for some students. That's okay. That's when we say, tag, you're it, or we phone a friend and say, hey, I noticed that so-and-so is not responding the way that they usually do, and we let somebody else know. But encourage students to talk. Also encourage them to talk to family and friends, whether it's on the phone or via text message, whatever way that we can, because these are beautiful ways for us to support safety. Help students to plan virtual play dates to distract them from their worries. I have a 4th grader and a 7th grader in JCPS, and my kids miss their normal school settings. They miss their usual things that they can do. And so my daughter tends to be an anxious human being just by nature. So one of the ways that I have encouraged her psychological safety is by encouraging her to do things that she would normally do. She takes dance classes online and she hangs out with her friends via Google Meet or Zoom. Those are beautiful ways for us to encourage psychological safety for our students. But be as present as we can be and strive to keep our routines as predictable as we can with the students that we work with. Because any time that we can do this for our students, it reminds them that even though things look differently, we're still the same and we're still going to be there for them and have their backs. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is if you decide that you're going to assign work on Monday and it's going to be due on Friday, keep that consistent. Don't switch it up on them. But also, if you decide that you're going to have a Google Meet time every Wednesday, keep up with that, because our students will start to look forward to that, and they will look forward to that consistency within their lives. And that will reinforce that psychological safety piece that so many of them need and rely on. All right, the next area that we're going to look at and consider is this idea of connectedness. And connectedness refers to having relationships with others who understand and support you, with people that get you. So I want you to think about connectedness. It is completely changed and shifted as our students know it. Generally, our kids would connect by playing on the playground or by having that check-in and check-out every single day. We would be able to look at their body languages or their facial expressions and know how they're doing. Or our kids would connect by going and playing a baseball game or going to dance classes or doing typical things that allow them to connect. Right now, they're not able to connect in those general ways. And so one of the things that we have to do is think about how this could be triggering for some of our students, but what we need to do in order to support this connection. Because one of the things that we know is that relationship is the cornerstone for everything that we do. And that's the same for NTI work. It goes back to that old adage of kids don't care what you know until they know that you care. So let's talk about a few strategies that really support connection throughout the NTI process. The first one is make time to ask students about something fun that they're doing right now. I know that as a classroom educator, you are probably stressed to the max about all of the things that have completely shifted and changed right now. You're probably worrying about standards that have to be met. You're thinking about all of the things that you should be teaching that you aren't or you haven't gotten to. I get it. Okay? Take a deep breath, because the most important thing that you can do right now is connect with your students. They miss you. They miss being in your class. They miss hanging out with you. They miss the things that you used to do that annoyed them. That annoyed them. Connect with them, because they need that connection and they value it more than you could ever imagine. And so ask them what's going on in their lives. Ask them what they're doing to have fun or to enjoy this time, because there's so many things that could be happening. Take time to greet them by name. Think about that. How many Zoom meetings or Google Meets have you sat in on in the last week alone? How beautiful is it that somebody takes time to say, hey, so-and-so, how are you doing? When I meet with my team, one of the things I love the most is that they take time to say, hey, Jen, how's it going? What's new in your life? They recognize who I am. And that's awesome, because that means I have people outside of my four walls that recognize me. Consider putting your students together in a small group still and allowing them to work on a project. Just because they're not in class doesn't mean that they can't still collaborate. My 7th grader was working on a Google Meet last night, filming a play that her and a partner wrote together on a script. We can set those up for students and allow them still to collaborate, even if it's by something as small as a scavenger hunt or a puzzle. Collaboration is beautiful, and our kids need it now more than ever, because when we allow them to connect and collaborate, it reminds them that they're not alone. And so many of our students feel like they are right now. They feel like they are walking this journey by themselves, but when we pair them up with their peers, it reminds them that we've got this, that we're not doing this by ourselves. All right, so the next area that we're going to consider is this idea of hope. And this may be one of my favorites. Hope is the expectation that everything's going to work out and that we're going to be all right. And so for a lot of our trauma-exposed students, they lose hope pretty quickly. And so this whole time period is really hard on them because their schedules have changed, their routines aren't the same, the people that they would talk to for hope aren't there for them regularly. And so they're feeling pretty triggered right this minute. And so one of the things that we want to think about is how can we work to instill hope in the work that we're doing? So here are some strategies for supporting hope. And these aren't just good for our students, they're really good for us too, because sometimes we need a little hope throughout the day. So have students connect with someone in their family or community and ask them how they stayed hopeful in a troubled time. This one's really good because it helps to build resilience. And our students need this throughout life. It teaches them that it's okay to bend, but not break. And that throughout hard times, we've got this. We're going to get through it, and we're going to get through it together. This one's a really cool idea because this is something you can do in a social studies class, and then you can write about it in an ELA class. Teach your students about historical times of crisis and include how these communities rebounded throughout these historical times of crisis. Let your kids do a little research. Help them to understand that our societies have seen tough times before, but the beauty in it is we got through it, and we got through it together. Let our students see that even though it doesn't feel so great sometimes right now, we've got this, and we're going to get through it. Encourage students to look at some of the stories and hope that are going on right now in our current communities. They're out there all around. People helping each other when they need it. People on the front lines stepping up and doing amazing acts of bravery. People in our school district creating all of these amazing lesson plans or showing what education is all about. There are all kinds of stories of hope. And when we encourage students to look for stories of hope, they start to feel more hopeful. And then when they start to discuss it, it brings them hope and it starts to become contagious. So I want you to think about how you can support hope in the work that you do every day with your students. It will help you to feel better as well as your students. All right, so let's talk about a few more strategies that will really support your trauma-exposed students throughout NTI. This one says a little R&R goes a long way. So what do we mean by that? Well, we mean that relationships and routines should really guide the way for the work that you do. Building relationships right now should take priority over everything else. I think I heard it said yesterday that we should really be setting up students to win. And I think that's one of the most beautiful ways to put it. When our students win, so do we. And it keeps us from re-traumatizing them over anything else. And so when we do that, we maintain this attitude of inclusivity of we're in this together. We're going to work through it together, and we're going to make sure that we all handle this as a team. Set a routine for the time that you work together, but understand that it's okay to be flexible. Because when we're flexible, it allows for us to fall back on the things that we know, like those relationships. And it reminds students that the caring adults in their lives can and will take care of them when times get tough. And that just re-encourages that psychological safety that they need. Here are a few more strategies that will really support your trauma-exposed students. The first one is to start each session with a check-in. Now, you can do this a couple of different ways. If you're an elementary school person, this is a lot like your morning meeting, or if you're a middle or high school person, it can kind of resemble your advisory. But this is a way for us to see how our students are doing. If you use Google Forms, when you do attendance, it can go on your Google form, and it can be something as simple as, how are you on a scale of 1 to 5? Or is there something you need to let me know? And this lets us know how our students are doing. This does a lot of different things for our students, but it also reminds them that there's someone there that cares about them and wants to know how things are going. Consider asking open-ended questions. This will consistently let students know that you want to listen and that you want to hear what they have to say. Consider using things like a feelings chart to promote self-awareness for our students. Our students feel a plethora of things every single day, and a lot of times they can't pinpoint what those feelings are. I know I do, and I'm 30 plus years old. I'm not gonna put a number with that one. But when we allow students to see those feelings on a feelings chart, it helps them to understand those feelings a little bit better. And then we can identify some coping strategies that will help them with that and work through that process. Here are a few more things that we want to consider as we work. Again, have flexibility, not just in the time that we work, but also in how kids respond, in what they turn in, and in our deadlines. We have to stop and think that not every household looks the same. So some of our households have 4 and 5 kids sharing one device, parents who are essential workers, so they're working 14 to 16 hours a day. You have kids being parentified, so they're taking care of the house. And so they're struggling to get any time in that they can. So with that, we need to make sure that we stay flexible and that we value whatever effort we get, because a little bit of effort goes a really long way. And in that, don't always push for verbal participation when our kids are logging in and we're having face-to-face meetings. Not all of our houses are as psychologically safe as our classrooms are. So let's think about different ways that our kids can respond to us, because that's so incredibly important. This next one goes for all of us. Let's remember that executive functioning is not going to be at top speed right now. This is a collective traumatic experience for all of us. So there are days that we're going to wake up and we're going to feel phenomenal and we're going to be ready to knock out 1,000 things. And there are going to be days where we wake up and it is just not happening for any of us. I see it with my own kids. There are days where they get up and they're ready to knock out hours of schoolwork. And then there are other days when I can barely get 5 minutes of work out of them. And that's because this is a collective traumatic experience. So when we're giving instructions, let's make sure that we're giving them slowly, one direction at a time, and in multiple ways. If we're recording a video, make sure that we're also sending the directions out written, because a lot of our kids are going to need them in multiple different avenues. Let's also make sure that we have realistic expectations for our students and ourselves. We all are going to need a little bit of grace throughout this period. Sometimes it's going to be a beautiful day where everything works out the way that it should. And other times we're going to need a little bit of grace to get through the entire process. And that's okay. Make sure that you take time to process the way this trauma feels for you as well as those around you. And that goes a really long way. All right, so as we start to wrap up, I want you to think about this quote and how you can use it to move throughout this NTI process and the work that you're doing. It says relationship before rigor, grace before grades, patience before program, and love before lessons. I think that as we're learning this new normal, a little bit of love and grace can go a really long way for ourselves, for our students, and for everyone that we're working with, because we really have created a brand new normal in a matter of weeks. And for that, we should all be really proud of ourselves and everything that we've done. And so make sure that you're giving yourself and those that you work with a little bit of love and grace. So we're going to pose a question to those of you in the chat box, and feel free to respond if there's anything that you need. But know that we are here to support you guys. I completely understand that you are learning to work with your trauma-exposed students in a brand new way. So let us know what resources you need. Is there any way that we can support you? We are more than happy to do that if there's anything that you need. So thank you so much. If there are any questions, please let us know.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. There are some comments that I just want to reemphasize. Shay, she said that flexibility is key. Trust the process. We know that this is a process and we just need to trust it. Jada Weathers, she stated to know others and be known by others is great. And I think that is a powerful quote because not only do we know others, but how many people know us and know what we stand for? And through this process, we know that grace is what is going to put us through this process. Thank you again for sharing. That always a very powerful, inspiring, well-rounded presentation for our audience. Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a great Friday.
You too.
Have a great Friday.
You too. Happy
Bye-bye.
Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yes. Bye. And as also Elaine Abernathy stated in the in the present or in the chat, is that if you really enjoyed this presentation and if you are there and you can click subscribe, clicking subscribe will remind you of all the presentations that are coming up. As well as if you are on Twitter, you can follow JCPS Dig in Digital Innovation and you can keep updated from there. As we have 2 minutes, let me quickly welcome everyone that is joining the next show, as well as show you where you can find all of the upcoming shows that you may be interested in. So, to get to the show, you will go to jcps.me/NTI and you will get to the home page. What you'll want to do is go to the NTI Teacher Toolkit. Once you are there are a lot of resources available to you, not only for teachers, but also for students and parents. So if you are a teacher and if you have any need for any resources, they are available to you on this site. But to get to the training, you will want to click on virtual training schedule. And once you click on that schedule, you are brought to this screen. Again, we will continue these trainings for the next 2 weeks. So this week does not stop the trainings. We have had awesome presenters and we will continue to have awesome presenters next week as well. So we have just learned about TLC during NTI. What is coming up next is mindfulness with Jennifer and Elizabeth. Without further ado, I do see Elizabeth here, so I will want to turn it over to her. Hi, Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Great. Are you all ready to present?
I think so. I'll get started.
Okay.
Jennifer should be here, so she joins us soon.
Okay, sounds good. Let us know if you need anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
And Elizabeth, as you are there, do you see? I do not see closed captioning. Okay. All right, you can take it away. Yeah. And there, and there is Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. All right, I think we're ready. Elizabeth, you can take it away.
Elizabeth, hey, this is Jennifer. I'm here too.
Hey, welcome.
Hey.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
All right, well, we're ready to get started if you want to take it away.
I'd be happy to. Thank you so much. First of all, thanks so much for the SEL folks who just presented a moment ago. I was actually tuning in to the session. What a great way to lead into this particular session, talking about psychological safety and the ways that we meet our students' needs. It's a perfect intro, a perfect segue into what we're going to talk about today, which is an introduction to mindfulness. I'm Jennifer Beasley from Cochran Elementary.
And I'm Elizabeth Lewis. I'm the mental health practitioner at Auburndale Elementary. So we'll start out with just kind of a brief explanation of what mindfulness is. It's a state of attention on the present without attaching negative thoughts and judgments. It's a way to live in the moment spiritually in the here and now. You can deeply experience life without attaching negative thoughts and judgments about situations or relationships. Simply put, mindfulness is to notice what is happening in the present moment while being aware of your senses, thoughts, and emotions without reacting. So it's a non-judgmental awareness. This little quote down at the bottom, worrying about the future is like trying to eat the hole in a donut. It is munching on what isn't.
That's great. So what I'd like to do to go ahead and call us to practice, I'd like to have you go ahead and put your hand on your chest and then put your other hand, if you feel comfortable, on your belly. And let's just notice our breath for a moment. And on the next breath, go ahead and exhale. And when I ring my bell, I'd like you to go ahead and notice the inhale through the nose and see what happens with your chest and your belly. Here we go. Inhale through the nose and exhale. Feeling the belly and the chest rise and fall. One more time, another breath. Inhale through the nose and exhale. Right. Sinking deeply into the chair. One more time. Inhale through the nose and exhale. So just the attention on the breath, taking 3 mindful breaths during the course of the day, maybe once a day, maybe a few times during the day, can be really helpful. It can draw our attention to the present moment, help us to feel calm and relaxed, and to give our nervous system a break and really support us, especially during this time of NTI. One good thing that you can do is go ahead and position a practice like this with something that you do on a routine level. So waking up in the morning, take your 3 mindful breaths, maybe at lunch or just after lunch, and then again right before you go to sleep. So just positioning those mindful breaths at times of day when you're already doing kind of the same thing can really build it into your day in a way that you can sustain it. And I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth.
All right, thank you. So first, I just kind of want to talk about what's happening inside of our brains and our bodies when we begin to feel stress and anxiety, to kind of tie into why mindfulness is so important for ourselves, for our students, for the staff that we work with. So when we feel threatened, our brain reacts. Our hippocampus is it's what stores our memories and our emotions associated with those memories. So when we see something that seems threatening to us in some way, it sends signals of danger to our amygdala. And that's the part of our brain that processes fear and other emotions. And when this amygdala gets activated, our prefrontal cortex, it can't do its job. And the prefrontal cortex is what controls our planning, our decision making. It's kind of like our rational part of our brain. So when this is going on in the brain, it greatly affects our body as well, as I'm sure that you all know. So our cortisol levels rise. That can create an acid in the stomach, which can cause stomach aches. The cortisol also creates a tension, muscle tension that can cause headaches, among many other symptoms. So if you look over at the image on the right, and see, what kind of happens with you, or what have you seen in other people when stress and anxiety are happening? Some people have trouble breathing. Some people start sweating. In children, it may present itself in a different way. They may seem needy, clingy, or withdrawn. So everybody's different. Just kind of understanding that that's what's happening inside of us is the first step in overcoming it. So how mindfulness plays into this is, being able to distract your brain, distracting ourselves with just some mindfulness techniques, being in the present moment, thinking about how we're feeling and what's happening inside of us. That gives our amygdala a break and it allows your prefrontal cortex to start working again so you can think rationally, calmly. So Jennifer and I would like to invite you to do a few of these mindfulness techniques that we like and we'd like to share with you. There are so many different techniques that you can try, and these are just some of our favorites. So I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer. And hang on real quick. Just a real quick little blip here. So mindfulness. Is your mind full, like the person on the left, worrying about yesterday, something that happened yesterday, or something that might happen tomorrow? Or are you being mindful of where you actually are in this present moment? So, all right, I'm turning it over to Jennifer to do our first mindfulness technique.
Thank you so much. That was lovely. All right, so next we're going to go ahead and I'm going to invite you to take a look at the slide, take a look at the picture there. Just notice how the tree is rooted in the ground. It's broader at the base, and then that lovely willow tree, the trunk goes up towards the sun and the sky, and then the branches kind of come out from there, and then the limbs sway back and forth in the breeze. So that image of strength and flexibility is one that I'd like you to go ahead and take with you as we move into some mindful movement. So this use of movement paired with the breath can really allow our central nervous system to take a much needed break, especially right now when we're in the middle of a pretty stressful time, both in our world and in our work. So I'm going to invite you to either do this activity seated or standing, or you can also position yourself against the wall, depending on your mobility and depending on, what you feel comfortable doing. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move my chair. And I'm going to stand up, and I'm actually going to use this middle posture. This is called tree pose. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and place both of our hands at heart center, palms facing one another, and we're going to go ahead and make sure that our feet are on the ground, steady on the ground, even if we're in a chair. And notice your little toes on the ground, your big toes on the ground, both edges of your heel on the ground, really connecting to the 4 points of the feet, connecting with the floor. And kind of keeping that image of the tree in mind, that image of strength and flexibility. Imagine what it would be like to be a tree and have roots that go deep into the ground. All right, so keeping that image in mind, we're going to go ahead and take a big inhale through our nose. And exhale. And then we're going to go ahead on the next inhale, we're going to raise our right foot and then place it either at the ankle, on the calf, or on the thigh. Just remembering not to put our foot against the side of our knee because that can put too much stress on the knee. Really focusing on a point in front of us, maybe just past the computer. And then on the next inhale, raising our hands if that feels comfortable. Really focusing on that idea of strength, yet flexibility. So just like the willow tree moves easily in the wind, we also have that capability. But remembering that flexibility can change from day to day. So we're going to go ahead on the next inhale, bring our hands back to heart center, and put the foot on the floor. Take a breath and notice how you're feeling. Notice the energy in your leg. And we're going to go ahead and do the left side. So let's go ahead and take an inhale and put your weight on your right foot, into your right foot, and then lift your left foot and place it against either your ankle, your calf, or your thigh. Inhale here, find your strength and your stability. And then when you're ready with an inhale, if you feel comfortable, I invite you to raise your arms if you feel comfortable. Big breath in, big breath out. And then exhale, hands back to heart center. Lower your left foot back to the ground and lower your arms. So that's a great posture, both in terms of reminding us of our own strength and flexibility, but you also really do need to be mindful to maintain your balance. It's a really great one for kids. And it's something that we can do in just a moment for ourselves. All right, Elizabeth, turning it over to you.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. So now I'd like to lead you all through a guided meditation. This is something, it's a quick way to get your body calm that you can do anywhere. So I'd like to invite you to just get seated comfortably in your chair. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. And I'd like you to imagine that there is a magic wand with a warm blue light, and it's raised just above your head. As the warm, gentle wand passes over each part of your body, that part becomes completely relaxed. The wand starts to move over your forehead, leaving it warm, relaxed. Next, the warm light travels over your nose, cheeks, your jaw, and your face feels soft and warm and completely relaxed. The wand continues down over your neck and shoulders. You feel a calm rise over, then over your chest and back, filling you with the warm light, leaving all the muscles in your arms, back, chest, and belly very relaxed as you breathe slowly in and out. The magic wand continues to pass over your hips and your thighs, relaxing all the muscles, down over your knees, your lower legs, finally your feet. And as it warms and relaxes every single toe, all your tension is gone, and it exits your toes along with the calming beam of the wand. With one final deep breath in, let's all open our eyes, exhale, sit back up in our chairs, wiggle your arms and legs, wake them up, ready to be focused on your day. So this is just one example of a guided meditation. There's many of them, but that's something that I kind of use with kids if they're dealing with anxiety and I just need like a quick calm down for them. Now, Jennifer, she's going to talk to you about some common problems that you may run into.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So some of the problems that we run into with mindfulness, one of the most common problems, I think, is this idea that the expectation that the mind will be completely silent when one sits down to practice mindfulness. And I wish that were the case, but it's not actually. Sometimes we sit down, even experienced mindfulness practitioners sit down and their minds jump from thought to thought to thought. It's so common, in fact, that there's a phrase for it. It's called monkey mind, just that idea of little mischievous monkeys running from thought to thought to thought. So one of my teachers actually said a great way to combat this is to imagine you're looking up at the summer sky and imagine big fluffy white clouds floating by. And as a cloud would float by, you would just say cloud, cloud. Well, in our mind, if we have a thought, we can just label it just as though a cloud and say, okay, thought, and then let it drift on by. And then if a feeling crops up, we can go ahead and label that feeling and then just let it drift by like a cloud in the sky. Then another issue would be contraindications, which would mean times when maybe you should check in with a doctor. If you have an anxiety disorder or a panic disorder or a history of complex trauma, it's not that you can't practice mindfulness, but it might be uncomfortable at first. In my practice, both with adults and with children, I have found that it's totally possible to be successful with mindfulness with these diagnoses. The only thing is, you might want to move more towards a movement-based meditation. So, for example, keeping the mind focused on the task at hand, and whenever the mind drifts, just bring it back gently to the task at hand. Some activities that might be workable with this, just like the mindful movement activity I did a moment ago, would be walking mindfully. You could also pair this with a traditional task that you're doing during the day. It could be folding laundry or washing the dishes, something that is repetitive and that your hands really know how to do. Those are great ways to practice mindfulness during the day. Each time your mind starts to drift, just bring it back to this present moment and to the breath. And then next, I'd like to share something that I call a 5 senses meditation. This is a pretty common mindfulness activity. And I'm going to go ahead and hold up my hand with all the fingers extended. This is my right hand, and then I'm going to take my left hand, and I'm going to go ahead and take the left hand and wrap it around my thumb. And this act of compressing the thumb is just another way to remain mindful, because that act of compressing the joints can help the body to soothe, can help the nervous system to feel soothed. So we're going to go ahead and breathe in and breathe out, breathe in and breathe out. One more time, breathe in and breathe out. For this first sense, I'd like you to notice things that you can see. Just look around your environment where you are right now and notice 5 things you can see. It might be a color or a shape or a pattern in your environment. It could be the wall in front of your computer. Anything at all. Just notice 5 things that your eyes can see. It's especially nice to focus on things that make us happy when we look at them. So it might be, a plant growing or something that you can see from the window. And then take the index finger, wrap it in the hand, the left hand. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. A breath in. A breath out. And once more. For this, I'd like you to notice 5 things that you can hear. Sometimes it helps to close your eyes. It's easier sometimes to notice what you can hear with your eyes closed. It might be the wind blowing outside, or a bird chirping, maybe children in the next room working on their schoolwork. Could be anything at all. Just notice 5 things that you can hear. Remember to keep breathing. On your next breath, I'd like you to go ahead and take your left hand and go ahead and wrap your middle finger around with your left hand. So taking a big breath in, big breath out, big breath in, big breath out, and once more. For this, I'd like you to notice the sensations and feelings that you have in your body. So I invite you to really kind of examine, do you feel cool or warm? You could also notice that you might feel hungry or sleepy. You might also notice the physical sensation, like the way that your feet feel inside your socks, or the way that your body rests against the chair. Whatever you notice, it's completely fine. Just notice it and bring yourself back to the breath. And now for this 4th sense, I'm going to invite you to use your imagination. This one is going to be a little bit more fun. All right, so let's take our deep breath. And once more. For this, I'd like you to think about things that bring you joy. Things that bring you joy that you can smell. So that might be That might be the smell of a particular food or a perfume or a cologne, a flower. Could be freshly mown grass, anything at all. Try to think of 5 things that really bring you happiness when you smell them. Always drawing attention back to the breath. And now for the 5th one, go ahead and take your left hand and wrap your pinky with your, the right pinky, wrap it around with your left hand. Breath in, breath out, breath in, breath out, and once more. For this, I'd like to invite you to consider the things that you love to taste. It could be something delicious that you don't get to taste very often, like wonderful cotton candy or ice cream or maybe honeysuckle, something from your childhood even. So think about things that bring you absolute joy when you taste them. Remembering to breathe. And really savor that experience. Savor that experience of that thing that you really love to taste. And then with another breath, release your hand, putting your hands back on your lap. Breathe in, roll the shoulders back and forward. Bring your awareness back to the room. So that's not just a great way to be mindful. It's also a terrific writing prompt. It can also be used to create artwork. And it's also something where you can really cultivate savoring, which is another, savoring and gratitude, which are 2 practices that also bring a lot of comfort. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth, and we're going to get to go on a trip.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. So I want you to think about your favorite place to be. If you could take your mind away, close your eyes, and put yourself wherever your favorite place to be. And this one kind of engages all of your 5 senses too. And I'm gonna share this image of the beach, and I want you to, in your own time, think about where you would like to go. Now, I love the beach, so I would like to take you there. So I invite you to close your eyes and imagine that you're walking out to the beach. And you can feel the sand on your feet. You can wiggle your toes down into the sand. You can feel the warm sun on your skin. The breeze blowing through your hair. You can smell the salt water of the ocean. You can hear the sounds of the waves crashing. You walk towards the water, just where the water washes over your feet. You can feel the sensation of your feet sinking down into the sand as the water, the tide, rolls back out into the ocean. Just feel the warmth, smells, the sounds. So this is a good thing to do, just, if you start to feel some stress or worry or whatever it is that, you are not in the present moment, just kind of taking yourself away and really trying to engage all of those senses. See if you can take yourself away in your mind. So I invite you to try this on your own at some point today or maybe this weekend. Just take yourself to your favorite place. And this is a great thing to do with students. They really enjoy closing their eyes and talking about, where they want to be and what they feel as they're imagining it. Great thing to try with your staff as well. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Jennifer.
All right. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I'm afraid that's all the time that we have. I'm going to go ahead and ring our bell to draw our practice to a close. So just go ahead and notice your body in the chair. Take a nice deep exhale. You may put your hand on your chest if you like, or on your belly. And listen as I ring the bell. Inhale and exhale. Again, inhale and exhale, feeling the chest and the belly rise and fall with the breath. And once more, inhale and exhale. Again, these simple practices, this is just a thimble's worth of the practices that you can do on your own for your own self-care, and you can also offer to students. And we would be very happy to share other things if you're interested. This is our contact information. If there are questions in the chat, happy to answer those as well. We will be able to provide handouts in the presentation if you're interested. Thank you all so much.
Thank you all. That was again, another great presentation. I don't see any questions in the chat right now, but I do want to just go over some of the comments that people have stated. For example, Danielle said that, great name, by the way. She said that she listened to songs and sing along if her kids get involved, and then sometimes have a dance session to help bring mindfulness to her. Also, someone else said that this activity, again, can be done with students through those Google Meets, through those Google Hangouts. And one more comment is that Sparka Daniel stated that she is always willing to learn how to relax and help with stress. And we know that during these times that people may tend to be more stressed out because we really can't control everything that is going around us. But these mindfulness activities, I know one activity that you said, think about a food that you like to eat. And I think of the movie theater popcorn with lots and lots of butter, knowing that we should not have it. But it is great. And it's nothing like the popcorn that you get at the store, but it has to be made at the movie theater with tons and tons of butter.
True.
Yes. Again, thank you all. I do want to remind our audience that if you need a copy of this presentation, it is linked to the NTI support portal under Teacher Toolkit. And I can quickly show you that before we start our next session that is going to happen. And again, you can get to it at the JCPS NTI support page. You do want to come down and click on virtual training schedule, and you will find their resources linked to their names. So when you see their names, if you click on that name, that will be where their resources are. All right.
Danielle, do you mind if I mention something about those resources?
Not at all.
The Mark Center at UCLA is one of the first resources on the page. That's a really great introduction if you just would like an audio recording of a brief mindfulness strategy. So they are as short as 2 or 3 minutes, and they go up to 19 minutes. They're super basic. They can be done just on your own. They can be done with kids. And I'd also like to echo what you said, and I know Elizabeth mentioned this. These strategies are actually super adaptable for Google Meet. I've been using them with success through this portal, and it's working just fine. And I would invite anybody, if they would like to go ahead and try them, go ahead and check back with us and let us know how they work out for you.
That is awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you, you too. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Bye. All right, so let's see what is coming up next. And again, you can also look for the schedule on Twitter. Oh, and now we are going to talk about utilizing Edpuzzle for ELs. We do have Lewis and Amy with us. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey, how are you all?
We're excited.
Great.
Yes, thank you for having us today.
No, thank you for being on the show. Do y'all have any questions before we start?
Just be pretty well prepared, I believe.
Okay.
We have our presentation ready to share with the whole district, so yeah, we're excited.
And just FYI, if you have a Google slide presentation, and if you put that in present mode, if you can turn on closed captioning for us as well. I see you shaking your head, so I'm pretty sure you know all about that.
Okay.
All right, I will turn it over to you all.
All right. So let's go ahead and get our presentation up. Okay, and so today, well, hello everybody, good afternoon. Here at the ESL department, we've been working actively on trying to help find and utilize tools to help ESL students and all students during NTI. So today, we're going to be presenting this to you. My name is Lewis Jackson. I am an ESL research teacher for Zone 2. And we have Vomini Edmonds, who is operating the chat room for us. And I'm going to let Amy go ahead and introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Amy Callisti. I am also an elementary ESL resource teacher for Zone 2. Vomini Edmonds is also an elementary ESL resource teacher, and she will be managing the chat room. So we are happy to hear your feedback. So please type any questions or comments in the box, and we'll follow up.
Thanks for mentioning that. I'm glad you remind everybody to enter those questions into the chat for us.
Of course. So let's get started. So welcome again, everybody. Today's session is covering how Edpuzzle can be utilized for English learners. Edpuzzle is a video platform that teachers can use to help engage students and support their learning. Now that we are in NTI, videos are a powerful tool to support content learning. Edpuzzle not only increases student engagement, but it allows teachers to scaffold your content in order to meet your needs of English learners. This platform is unique in that it gives you the flexibility to differentiate and personalize learning for your students. And the best part is tech integration, meaning that it works with Google Classroom and other Google Suite apps. The benefits for using Edpuzzle with English learners are many, and we hope through our demonstration, you will see some ways to incorporate this platform to help make content more comprehensible for English language learners. What we also like about this tool is the ability for students to pause and process the content that's being delivered. Another great benefit for teachers is that we are able to monitor students' progress using the various assessment tools that are featured in this program. Okay, so let me show you the agenda that we're going to talk about. We're going to take you through a series of 4 steps. I'm going to turn it over to Lewis, and he will walk us through navigating the Edpuzzle site. He's going to show us how to add Edpuzzle to Chrome. We're also going to walk you through how to edit an Edpuzzle video. And finally, we are going to show you how to link the Edpuzzle video to your Google Classroom.
All right, thank you for that, Amy. So like she alluded to, we're going to go ahead and get started with how to navigate the website. So anytime you go to the Edpuzzle website, this is the landing page you're going to come to, okay? And now we're going to just take a little a look into what we can do when we're first introducing ourselves to Edpuzzle. So we're going to go ahead and click on the curriculum tab there on the left side of the screen. Now that will bring up the different grade groups. We have elementary, middle, and high. Each one is organized differently, and high school is probably the one that is organized in the most intuitive way. So we're going to go ahead and click on high school. And first, I want to introduce you all to something that you can use as you are getting started with Edpuzzle. So It has benefits for our students, but also for professional learning. So we're going to come in here and we're going to click on teacher certifications. And then we're going to go to where we have that box that says Edpuzzle Level 1. So this is a place that you can come as you are exploring, and the videos here detail how to utilize Edpuzzle when you're just starting. There's also level 2 if you noticed earlier, but this is a great place to come and just get information on what to do if you need more tips in excess of this presentation. Just see what all Edpuzzle can do for you. Another thing that we wanted to show you that was also available here are the tools that outside of just Edpuzzle. So if we go to where we see Google Tools, we're going to click on that, and then right there where it says level 1. So as we're going into NTI, there are a lot of questions about how to use the different online tools. Here there is extensive information about how you can get trained in Google Docs, Classroom, Sheets. So there's a great deal of information to come and look at just to familiarize yourself with what you can do with Google. And there are also other tools to look at in this section of Edpuzzle. So it's a great place to get personal and professional training as well as build lessons for your students. All right, now let's look at one more thing in the high school section. Since this is training specifically for ELs, there's also an ESL tab in that high school section. Now, I want to make a note that these are not tiered according to what we use in JCPS for our tiering system. However, there is a great deal of lessons and resources to help our kids who still need to have English engagement during this NTI time. The lessons are designed for vocabulary and for conversational English. So it's a great place to explore to see what lessons have already been built and found for our ELs. Okay, so that was just a little bit of what we can find in the high school portion of it. So now we're going to go back to the home page, to the curriculum page, and take a look at the elementary school portion for elementary educators out there. Elementary is organized into either subject area or by grade. So we're just going to take a look at that videos by grade, and you can see that they're organized according to whichever grade level you might need. So for a 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade teacher trying to find material, you are not left out of this website. There's still a great deal of resources for you to find and utilize for your classrooms as well. Okay, so now we're going to go back and take another look at the high school portion and look at a video that we have, what the video will look like for our students. So we're going to go in and go to the curriculum page and go to high school content and take a look at just how deep the organization goes for these videos. So we're going to go to math, then algebra 1, then we're going to go to linear equations. Now you see we have 1 and 2, so we're going to go to 1 variable equations, and then we're going to go to problems and models, and then we have these videos here. So you can see just how detailed they are with their categorization of videos. This is what your videos will look like for your students. So it's a pretty basic setup. You can see the title on top, and then on bottom we have the play, step back button, and volume and full screen. And you'll notice the dots on the bottom of the video timeline. Now those dots constitute questions and notes. So if you find a video and you're not sure what's in it or what questions have already been placed into that video, you can click on those dots and the questions will be brought up to the side of the screen so you can see and examine what exactly they're asking.
Better be empty by 8 p.m.
So there we go. And you see that they've added an open-ended question asking that. So that will allow you to see if this is a video you can just use outright, or maybe you would like to change the questions or add more scaffolds. And we're going to go into that much deeper later in this video. Okay. So now we've looked at how to search videos in the curriculum component of Edpuzzle. But that's not the only way to find content. Now, before we move down to that, let's look under curriculum, and you'll see right there Hazelwood Elementary School. It's Hazelwood because that's the school that the resource teachers have been using as our school in the district. But for anybody signing up, it will be your specific school. The benefit of this is all the videos created by teachers at your school will be housed here. So it is a great way to share content, especially if you have similar subject areas that you are preparing for. Okay, and then we can look, and under that, under the school, we have my content. My content is where the videos that you have created are stored. In the Edpuzzle free version, you're able to save up to 20 videos. Now, Edpuzzle has a promotion to where if you refer another teacher and they sign up, you get an additional 3 spaces, up to 300 spaces to save videos. However, you can always just remove a video and replace it with another one and keep the 20 that you start off with. So there's plenty of room to save videos in here. Okay. Now, let's look at the popular channels. So under the My Content area, you'll have popular channels. And here are places where you can search for content to create videos for Edpuzzle. So you see YouTube, Khan Academy, National Geographic, TED Talks, great sources to find all kinds of useful videos to help your students with assignments. For the sake of example, we're going to look at National Geographic. So here, we'll have different videos from National Geographic. And in this case, we're going to look for a video involving insects and flowers. So let's do a quick search for that. And we'll see what comes up. Okay. So here, we found a video about insects or flowers. So something about camouflage, which is great. That's what we're looking for. Now you'll see in this one, there are no dots under the video. That implies that there have been no questions created yet. Now, later in the video, we're going to go in and edit this video and add questions and notes to it to show the real power of Edpuzzle. But for now, we're going to take a step back and we're going to look at how we can Chrome link for Edpuzzle to make it much easier to find videos on YouTube. All you would need to do is go to the Chrome store and download the Edpuzzle extension. Very, very easy. And the great part about it is once you've added this download, anytime you're on YouTube searching for a video, there will be a small box under the full screen option for the video that says Edit with Edpuzzle. Now that is going to allow you to pull any video off of YouTube into the Edpuzzle website for you to edit. So we're going to go ahead and click on that button to pull that video into Edpuzzle. Excellent. So now we have our video. So we want to make sure that we can fit this to our student needs. So on top, you'll see 3 different buttons: cut, voiceover, and questions. We're going to cycle through those and do specific tasks we need for our video. First, we're going to cut. So to cut, all you need to do is select that and then type in or move to the time code where you want to cut the video. In this case, that'll be 37 seconds. So we're going to type in 37 seconds. And that will jump us to where we want to add our cut. Okay? So then we add the cut. Oh, it moved. There we go. Okay, so there we go. So now we see those 2 lines. That delineates what we can remove. So we're going to remove that part of the video, and that gray spot is what we skipped. So adding a cut is very easy. Now we want to add a voiceover. Voiceovers are powerful because you can interject your own voice into the video. And what it will do is shut down all of the music and sound that's playing in the video just to play your voice. So Amy is going to add a voiceover to the beginning of the video to say what is on the screen for the children who are watching it. So let's go ahead and do that.
Insect or flower.
All right, and just like that, you'll see that little yellow part of the video, which shows that we've added a voiceover. So now you have a voiceover into the video. Now the next piece we're going to do are go to the questions tab, and here we can do 2 things. Well, actually 3. We can add multiple choice, open-ended, and notes. Notes are a very, very powerful tool. So the first thing we want to do is add a note to help trigger background information in this video. So we want to enter in that note at 10 seconds. So we're going to play the video up until 10 seconds. Then we're going to stop. Okay, so when we click on that note, it will bring up a box to help us enter information that's going to pop up as students watch that video. So the first thing we want to do is we want to add some text to help students think about what's happening. So we're going to write this note talking about camouflage for animals and put it in there. All right, now that's not the only thing we can do though, because we also want to make sure that we're scaffolding for our students. So aside from that, we're going to put in an image. Now there are 2 ways to put in an image. You can either click the image box on top of the screen, on top of that small dialog box for notes. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then we are going to upload a picture from our computer or from our drive. And then once we do that, we'll show a second way. So let's go ahead and get that one picture in. And there we go. So now we have an image to go along with our dialog, to go along with our text. If you are so inclined, you can also insert an image with a link. So instead of clicking the image button, you can click the link button that is next to that. So we're going to go ahead and copy the link first. And then click on the link button and add it as a URL. Okay. Just hold on. There we go. And we're able to add a title to the link.
Oh, that was not.
Oh, so what we did right there was we added it as an image and not as a link. So we're going to remove the giant image, which needs to be resized. So we're just going to go ahead and delete that. There we go. And we're going to click on the link option. There it is. And now you can enter it in as enter the link in and give it a title to make it recognizable to your students. And we can just call it camouflage. And then when we put that in, there was a link. So that will be a clickable link for the kids. All right. Now you can also add voice to a note as well. So what Amy's going to do for us now is add voice using that microphone on the bottom of the screen. So let's let her do that.
When an animal is in camouflage, it matches its background. Look at the photo. These owls are in camouflage.
All right. And so now we've added text so students can click on that and they'll be able to hear it read to them. And for the
question, yes. Do students have to log on or will the video open up when they click on the link?
So what's going to happen when for the Edpuzzle video is when they click on the link, they'll be able to access the video. So they don't have to log on to anything. Once they're provided with a public link, when we get to that, you'll be able to see how to put it in. They'll be able to access the video.
Great.
So great. Thank you for that. That's a great question. Now, the last bit we want to do is add oral native language support. So with the help of BAI, we've saved an audio file using Vocaroo, and we're going to add that as a link into this as well. So the same way we added the image, we're now going to add the audio as a link. So we're going to put that in, and then we're just going to call it Spanish version for the sake of example. And now that's in there. And we'll show that once we do the whole video, okay? So we've added a note now. So we're going to go ahead and save that. And then the next thing we're going to do is add our first question. So we're going to play the video up until 20 seconds, and then we're going to put in an open-ended question. So click continue under that option first. Good. We're nearing the point. Okay. And here's where our open-ended question is going to go. So now we're going to click on open-ended question, and we're just going to add the text there. But what we're going to be sure to do is add a sentence frame as a scaffold for our EOs. And again, this is good practice for any student, but we want to make sure that we put our scaffolds in there. And we can hit save, and now we've added a question. Now, another way you can get to a timestamp, if you go back and click on that cut button at the top of the screen, we want to put our third question in 30 seconds. So you can type in 30 seconds to have the video jump to that point of the video. And then you can add your question at that time. So multiple choice question. And again, we're going to put our question in that top box. So in this case, what is an example of mimicry? But a nice feature is instead of adding text choices, we can add images as choices for our students to help to look at. So we're going to go in and we're going to upload images for their choice options. All right, we have our first. And what Amy's doing right now is readjusting the size. If you remember earlier, that picture came in a gigantic form because of the dimensions of it. you're able to change the dimensions of a picture when you put them into Edpuzzle. So if you find a giant graphic, you can edit it as you input it. So that's what we're doing with both of these. All right, and then we can select which one is going to be the correct answer by marking the check mark by the right one and the X by the one that's incorrect. And aside, you can add up to at least over 10 options when we tested this out. So now we're going to save that. Okay, and that is it. We have made our video. So now we're going to go ahead and hit finish in the upper right-hand corner. Okay, and this is what your students are going to see. So now we're going to run through the video and see how the notes and questions will look like for our kids. Go ahead and press play, Amy.
Insect or flower?
So here's the note, and you'll see there they have the text. If Amy presses the play button under the image, you'll hear the recording.
When an animal is in camouflage, it matches its background. Look at the photo. These owls are in camouflage.
And then you'll see the two links within the video. So if you click on the camouflage link for that image, it will take you to where the image is housed, or whatever website you chose to place it under. So there's that. And then for the Spanish version, that's able to click on, and then they'll be taken to a screen where they can hit play, and whatever has been recorded, they'll hear that version as well. So let's go ahead and listen to it.
Mira la foto de dos búhos en el árbol.
Okay, so you see how we built in so many scaffolds just into a note in that video. So it's a very powerful way to make sure our students are still being engaged. Let's continue. And now when it comes to our first question, so there you see the question and the sentence frame. So the idea would be for students to be able to use that sentence frame to help them answer the question. So it's in the format that you would like as an instructor. And also it improves their grammar because they're actually seeing proper grammar used in questioning. So it's a win-win for our kids. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and submit that. Continue. All right, and now we have our multiple choice questions. So we have our two options there, the question and then both images. And so now if the student selects the wrong answer, once they do that and they click submit, they'll be notified that that was incorrect. So they have immediate feedback from multiple choice questions anytime in Edpuzzle, depending on what you chose as the right answer. Okay, and that's how they would see all of those different options. So let's go ahead and go to the end of the video. And that would be how the video is ran for the students. Now, the next part is how can you get this to your students, right? So if we go ahead and look at the assign button on the right-hand part of the screen, there are two options, okay? So now assign to class would involve linking the Google Classroom, and that's still in the works. But for the time being now, what we're gonna do until we have full access to that is click on public links, where we can get a link to the actual video. So we're gonna copy that link, and then you can take it to your Google Classroom. Now, what you can do here, two options. One, you can put it in your class stream, so where all your students will be able to access the video once you tell them where it's at. So that would be as simple as just pasting it there. You can put descriptions or notes around it to help your students know what the video is. And if you only want the video going to some students, that's also doable. You would just need to create an assignment and link the video as part of the assignment, so that way you can determine which students will receive it and which students will not. So there's two methods of delivery for the video as of now. Moving forward, we might have some more diversified options. But again, you can also look in the Edpuzzle website for training and see all the different models that Edpuzzle has already made available to you. Okay, and Just before we take questions, I would like to say that showing you how to do this editing is an important step, and I hope it was very helpful. But we in the ESL department believe that this tool can be best utilized by teachers creating their own videos and engaging with your students in a way that is not possible without this tool. You can input questions throughout lessons that you yourself are teaching, so that way make them pause for understanding while also still engaging with the teacher that they know. So we hope that it's utilized in a way that can hopefully change the way the students are currently engaging with educators and videos during NTI. Any questions at all?
I currently do not see any questions. I think they have been asked before or taken care of in the chat. Just a few comments. Catherine Wood said that this is pretty cool. Valmini, which I know you work with a lot, mentioned the scaffolds for all students. And even though I have used Edpuzzle a lot, this presentation even taught me something about translating in the videos and other things. And then Rachel Wright, she's just so excited to use this tool. So thank you all for sharing that tool with us. Do you have any closing remarks? Yes, a lot of people are saying thank you, and I learned so much. Do you have any closing remarks?
Well, again, I just want to say thank you to everyone for your time and attention. It has been a pleasure preparing this session and sharing techniques of how we can best support our English learners during NTI. And again, if you have any more questions after our session, please reach out to any of us. We have our emails listed for you, and we will be happy to help with any questions that you may have.
Yes, I can't echo that anymore. Please ask all the questions you would like. I would love to see this used across the district. So I'm a huge proponent and want to help in any way that I can. And I'm sure the same is true for both Amy and Valmini.
Yeah. And one question did come through, which Valmini answered. And that question from Karen Stone was, is this free? And it is free up to 20 videos. So she's thinking about using it with her kindergarten, which is kind of cool, even for our little babies. All right. Well, thank you all so much. And have a great Friday.
You too.
Okay, I see you again. It's just periodically you freeze a little bit.
Okay. I am going to turn off my video.
Okay.
Let's see if it's going to work and be back up. Let's see if we are back on. They are saying that they may be able to hear us, but we are back on, and we do apologize for the technical glitch. I appear to have lost internet with everything that is going on. So without further ado, I do want to go ahead and turn it over to our guest at this time. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and welcome to eBooks and online reading resources for K-5 students. I'm Karen Pruitt, specialist for the Library Media Services Department, and I'm here to share with you just some of the resources that are available for your students. I have a handout. It's linked to my name in the schedule. And first, let me share my screen. Okay. And where we're going to begin today is at the NTI, the district NTI portal. We want you to be able to assist your students in navigating to these resources. So I was thinking that we would start where your students might start. And so we'll start here and go to the NTI Student Toolkit. And when we scroll down, we will look for additional apps and resources. Now, on the left, you'll see a link here that says free online books and resources. That's a link just to a Google Doc that we have that lists some of the free resources. But the way we want our students to access this is by clicking here where it says online resources and databases below the LibGuide logo. And that will take you to a landing page that Library Media Services has created for parents and students to access their school's LibGuides. And we're doing this for a couple of reasons. First of all, we know that our school librarians have worked really hard to curate lots of other resources, not just the things that we have free during the school closure, but other resources that your students and parents are going to want to know about. And also, we're being very intentional about directing your student to their school's LibGuide to continue to reinforce that sense of community. You know, even though we're all apart and nobody's physically in their school building, we're all still part of a school. All of our students are still part of a school. So from the landing page, if you look on the right-hand side, there are text and screenshot directions for how to find your school. Towards the bottom, there's a Screencastify video that explains how to find your school, but it's schools. And since we're looking at K-5 resources, we're just going to click where it says elementary. And for today, we're going to use Auburndale Elementary as our demonstration site. So when we go to Auburndale's LibGuide, all the LibGuides default to a welcome page. You see on the right-hand side here, there is the contact information for Stephen Beck, who is the marvelous librarian at Auburndale Elementary. So if students or parents had questions about any of the resources, they have a way to contact him. And if we look right here in the left, the welcome is what's highlighted, but just to the right of that is a tab called NTI Online Books and Resources. This tab is on every elementary school LibGuide, right just to the right of the welcome page so that it's consistent and everybody can find it in the same place. So we're going to click there. And you will see some free resources that different vendors have reached out to us, or we have reached out to them and asked for free resources for our schools that are available to you during the closure. There are a couple of links that are not, typically they're not free resources, like the NTI tool page and Clever. And down here at the bottom, we have Louisville Free Public Library. But the rest of these are ebook or e-reading resources that are available to us right now. Now, most of the time, when we subscribe to an online service, are you able to hear me?
I am, but our audience cannot. So let me, let me pause for a moment. And then,
have they not heard anything?
I believe they have. It was just getting.
Gotcha.
All right, I think we're back on, it seems like.
Okay.
Let me.
Just say the word and I will continue.
Okay, I'm just ensuring that everyone can see and hear us. Let's see. And if you are hearing at this time, we do apologize that we are having a little bit of technical difficulties. I think we are good to go.
Okay. That's great. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for your patience. And the audience, please thank you for your patience. We know that a lot of people are using the Wi-Fi right now. So I do apologize, and you may continue.
Okay. So for those of you that just lost me there for a second, we clicked here on Capstone Interactive, and I was getting ready to move a tool out of my way so that I could log in down here at the bottom. Okay. So when we log in, it brings us to the Capstone Interactive bookshelf. And you will see here in the upper right-hand corner, they say they have 4,071 book results. According to this site, well, not according to this site, but I've looked through this site, and there are fiction and nonfiction, graphic novels, lots of different books that are suitable for grades pre-K through 6. Let's just do a real quick search here for life cycles. Okay. All of these books are multi-user, simultaneous use. That means that, once you've selected a book that you would like for students to read, in an ideal world, and barring any technical difficulties like we've had this afternoon, all of your students should be able to read the same book at the same time. Now, they're not downloadable. However, I will show you how to create a persistent link so that you could upload a link to your Google Classroom. I got ahead of myself just a little bit, but I'm a little bit off because of our little technical glitch, but I'll get it back. All right, so we searched for life cycles, and we have 25 book results. Once we have our results, we can come over to the left-hand side and choose a filter. We could filter by grade level, that's interest level, pre-K through grade 6. Or we could filter by guided reading level, or we could filter our results by accelerated reading level, or by lexile range. We could also limit our search results to either just titles that are in English or just titles that are in Spanish. I'm just going to choose a book so that we can take a look. When you click on a book, you get a summary. And then the second tab is book information. So if you wanted to know the exact lexile level or accelerated reading level of the book, that's here. More titles in this series are links to full text books that are in the same series that are also available in Capstone Interactive. And then at the top, we have the bar where we click to play the book. Once the book gets loaded, we have a couple of options. We have read the book page by page, and that actually gives the reader control over when the page turning happens, just the pace of the page turning, not the pace of the narration. Read the book all at once gives the machine control over the page turning. Down at the bottom, you'll see the green button for audio is lit up. That means that this book will proceed with full narration. And the word button is green as well. And what that means is that when we play the book, it will highlight the individual words as the narrator reads them. I'm going to click read book page by page, and I'm going to turn the audio off because I'm not sure that you can hear the audio, but we'll try. And I'm going to control it just a little bit here. I'm going to turn the audio back on real quick. I just want you to watch the screen. If you can't hear it, you will still be able to see that as the narration happens, that the words will change color, and that's highlighting it as it's read to the student. Okay, and I can pause it anywhere that I want to. Down at the bottom in our toolbar, there's also a link to the table of contents if the book has one, and a link to the glossary. And we could also go full screen, but I'm not going to go full screen because I'm not sure where my tools would disappear to if I did that. So let's say that I have read this entire book. I have decided that this is something that I would really like to use with my students. And, just like in face-to-face instruction, you wouldn't assign a book for your students to read if you hadn't read it first. We're going to close the book. And then, unfortunately, we have to search for it again. So, beautiful butterflies. Okay. And then if I decide I want to put a persistent link to this book in my Google Classroom, I need to come to where it says book information. And I'm going to highlight the ISBN of that book and copy it. And these directions you'll find in the handout, but I've got myself a little cheat sheet here to find it quickly. In the handout, it says to copy and paste the ISBN without dashes, where you see this highlighted ISBN without dashes. So we're going to paste that. And then we're going to very carefully remove the dashes because it says without dashes. Sense. And then to test this link out, what I want to do, I'm going to highlight it and copy it. And I am going to open a new incognito window, because if I just put it in the Omnibox in my current browser, of course it will work because I'm logged into Capstone. But if we did it right, it loads the book without requiring the student to log into Capstone. And again, we have permission to put these persistent links in Google Classroom, where it is a protected environment, not like on a public-facing web page or something like that, where the general public could get into these books easily on their own. And that is Capstone Interactive. Let me see. The next thing that we want to go to is Pebble Go. Pebble Go is level books and articles for beginning readers. It says it's for K3, but I think it's really more along the lines of K2 in science and social studies. So we're going to click on Pebble Go. And again, we're going to sign in with the credentials that they've given us. Okay, and this is our home screen for Pebble Go. Now you can tell that it is aimed at a younger audience because there's very little text. It's very heavy on the graphics. There is a search box, but it's not really prominent, and that's because they're not anticipating that your youngest learners will have either great keyboarding or great spelling skills. So a lot of the navigation in this site is really aimed toward point and click at pictures and narration that happens when you point at those pictures. This particular site is available both in English and in Spanish, but we're gonna stick with the English. And this home screen is the only one where if I hover over a word, it doesn't narrate that. It doesn't read that to me. Once we click past this, then every time I hover, like it just said Earth and Space Sciences. So I'm going to there. I'm going to click weather and about weather and climate. Now, I could also have searched as an educator. I probably would do a search for climate. I wanted to show you how the student experience would be. And when we get down to the article level, again, you can tell it's for the youngest learners because there's very little text on the page. The text is chunked, and if I click on each one of these tabs, it's going to read the name of the tab for me. I have the little speaker icon here so that I can have the article read to me, and it will highlight the words as it reads to the student. Words that you see that are in bold and red, if we click on those, it takes us to a glossary. And for those who are independent readers, you can read what the definition says. If you're not an independent reader, there is a speaker icon for them to read that to you. Down at the bottom, let's stop. Let's go up here. Where it says read more, there are related articles and full text books that are available on the same topic. And then down at the bottom, we have a citation. Even our youngest learners need to know that we expect them to be ethical users of information. So if you have your students creating a project based on the information that they learn from these articles, you want to make sure that they know how to cite it. The article itself is available either a page at a time or the entire article as a PDF. And so if you needed to, you could put the whole article in your Google Classroom in PDF form just by clicking print. And then you would download the article and then upload it to your Google Classroom. Same if you just wanted to do a page out of the article. And activities, of course, you would want to preview these to make sure that they fit with your standards and your objectives. But if you want to use the activities that are here, again, they're all PDF'd. You would simply click print, download those, and upload them to your Google Classroom. Okay. And most of the articles also, include a media button here too. I forgot to mention that. Danielle, am I out of time or are we having trouble?
No, we're not out of time and we're not having trouble either. I just want to say that a lot of people did not know about Pebble Go, but now they are really interested in Pebble Go and they are really excited to use that platform. So just thank you for spending that time and going through how schools can access Pebble Go and how teachers can access that great resource as well.
Oh, terrific. Thank you. I did want to show one more thing up here at the top, and that's this little random article picker. And that just appeals to me as, okay, I'm old. But as a young person, my family had a set of print encyclopedias. And on a rainy Saturday when there wasn't anything else to do, sometimes I would pull out a volume and just open it up and see where it landed. And that's kind of what this is. It's just that random. It's going to it's going to pick an article for me, and I'm going to learn about something that I wasn't necessarily looking for. And I kind of like it. If we've got time, Danielle, I'd like to show Pebble Go next as well. Is that okay?
Yes, that is okay.
That's terrific. So we're going to buzz through Pebble Go next. It's very similar. It's also science and social studies for 3 through 5. Let's go. Well, it helps if you use the right username and password. Perfect. Okay. This is aimed for the older students, older elementary students, grades 3 through 5. It is science and social studies. They do have the images that you can navigate through, but instead of doing it that way, let's go ahead and type in a search term. And we see it's very similar, but you can tell that it's aimed at a more sophisticated audience because there's more text on the page. The text itself is a little bit more sophisticated. Instead of having words that are highlighted that the student could select from, particular vocabulary that they might not know, you can click on any word in the article and it will bring up a definition. It will read the pronunciation, although it won't read the definition of the word. It's chunked similarly to the way the articles are in the version for younger students. It does have a little video that goes along with it here at the end. And if we scroll back up to the top of the screen, we see there's the activity. And again, this would be where you would want to preview. Let's go to print. You would want to preview it, make sure that it's something that's appropriate or that you think your students would have the materials for to do at home. And then you would save that to your Google Classroom. I went back to the wrong thing. Let's close that up. Okay. And the citation is here as well. And because it's for older students, we're going to give them an option of different citation formats because they'll be learning about different citation formats as they get a little bit older. And there's also a link to related articles, full text articles for students in this resource as well. The only thing I feel like is missing from this is that it's not translated into any other language other than English. So we don't have the Spanish option here in the Pebble Go Next. And that is just about my time. I would like to encourage everyone to go to their school library's LibGuide, check out the NTI Online Books and Resources tab, as well as all of the other wealth of resources that our school librarians have put out there for you. They've worked really hard to do that. Use that contact information on the Welcome tab if you have questions about anything that you find there. And Does anybody have any questions for me, Danielle?
We did have one question, which I think Sarah answered, and that question was, did JCPS get Pebble Go for a free trial, or are we paying for it? And Sarah responded with, we only have it during NTI.
That is correct. We don't have a paid now. Some individual schools do have paid subscriptions to Pebble Go. But the one that you see on the NTI online books and resources page is the free version that they have offered to the district during the school closure.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for those great resources. A lot of people in the chat are excited about Pebble Go and Pebble Go Nets. I know I have a kindergarten. We were just learning about life cycle of a butterfly, and we would definitely implement this if we can through her LibGuide as well. So again, thank you. And I do apologize for the technical glitches.
That is quite all right. It's Friday afternoon.
It is. And you have a great weekend.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And welcome, everyone. If you are just now joining us, I am Danielle Washburn, Digital Innovation Leader, and we would like to welcome you to our next show. Just real quick, I do want to show you where those shows are. If you go to the JCPS NTI support page, under Teacher Toolkit, you can click on the virtual training schedule. Under the virtual training schedule, it will bring up our schedules for the next couple of weeks. All of the resources are also linked to their names as well. So if you need to go back and refresh what our presenters presented on, you can easily click on that name. Up next, it is the Bullying Prevention, NTI Cyberbullying, and Social Media Tips with an awesome crew, and I cannot wait to hear from everyone. And we do have Brittany, Crystal, and Steven. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Danielle.
Thank
How are
you.
you today?
Great. How are you all?
We are doing all right.
Awesome. And then I just want to say, if you are using Google Slides, if you don't mind turning on the closed captioning, that will be a great benefit. And I can walk you through that if you need me to.
Go ahead.
Okay. So you do want to be in present mode.
Okay.
And then right there at the, captions.
Does it matter about the size?
It does not. You could just click it and then you're good to go.
All right.
All right.
Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Crystal Carter. I am the supervisor of JCPS's Bullying Prevention Department. And today we are here to present cyberbullying and social media, what teachers can do to respond, address, and prevent some cyberbullying that may be taking place during this time. Again, I am Crystal Carter, the supervisor of bullying prevention. And this is my team, resource teachers.
I'm Steve Giddings.
And I'm Brittany Nip.
And we also have our clerk, Janet Young. She is the person that takes care of all of the tip line reports that come in, whether they come in via the phone or they come in via the website. And we will show you those places later on today, just in case you're not aware of them. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We want to make sure that you're aware of our department and the purposes of our department. We go out lots of times or people call in for different things and they have no clue that JCPS had a bullying prevention department. So teachers, we want to make sure that you are aware that we do exist. We are small, it's just the three of us, but we do exist and we do a lot of work and we're here to work for you and support you. So the purposes of our department are to provide educational resources and support for JCPS stakeholders concerning bullying prevention. And these resources and supports are intended to build the capacity of the learner. And that's whether that's a student that's learning from us or an adult that's learning from us. A lot of the times the situations are not just with students. Sometimes it's adult versus adult, or it's a parent with an adult teacher or an administrator with another adult in the building. So bullying prevention is not just for students, it's for everyone in JCPS. But again, we intend to build the capacity of the learner with the effort to increase awareness, to reduce bullying behaviors. Of course, we want to aid the people that are involved in these situations, whether it is the person that's been harmed the person that is displaying bullying behavior, or a bystander, someone that's seen it or heard it happening. And one of the three pillars with JCPS is culture and climate. And we want to make sure, because that is the department that we are under Dr. Katie DeFerrari, we want to make sure that we're making efforts to increase positive culture and climate within our schools and within our district. All right. A lot of the times people think that when they do call in or send a tip line report that we are the people that send down discipline. We do not discipline. What we do is we come out to schools, we educate, we talk to the families, we talk to students, we talk to witnesses, teachers, anybody involved or anybody we feel like we may need to bring in to figure out what's going on. And we give our reports to the administration, we give our reports to the assistant superintendent's office. And from there, decisions are made about substantiation or unsubstantiation. And then they proceed forward with discipline as they see fit. So again, we are not a disciplinary action team. We do give recommendations for discipline and or recommendations as to what could happen next or how we could better support students, how could we better could support the adults involved in these different situations. We do come out to observe classrooms. Sometimes we're not quite sure what's going on with the student, and we just come out to observe for an hour or so just to see what's going on. What's the relationship like with the students and others? What's the relationship like with students and adults in the classroom or in the building, just to kind of pinpoint the temperature, kind of what's going on with those situations. We offer our recommendations, of course, because we want to make sure we are reducing the opportunities for bullying to take place. And then lastly, we want you all to know that we are Oveus bullying prevention trainers. We have been trained in Oveus bullying prevention program, and my team, as well as about 15 other JCPS personnel with culture and climate and within JCPS schools, have been trained, and hopefully we'll have some things rolling out in the fall when we return to school. Let's keep our fingers crossed on that. Something new that is coming out with our program is that we are starting a newsletter. We plan to start it in March, but all these things happen, so we just pushed it out in April. This is what it will be formatted like. You can find this in your NTI resources. This is under the teacher resources logo that is on the main NTI page for teachers. It is also under the parent and under the student. So you can find this under any of those places. Yours specifically, teachers, will be under your teacher resources that is at the bottom of your NTI portal page under additional supports. You'll see the logo there, the bullying with the red circle, the circle with the line through it, along with some other positive affirmation words. But on our newsletter, you will find the definition of bullying that JCPS uses. We want to make sure everyone is clear and that we're using the same language, that we are uniform in what we're saying, what we're presenting to students, what we're presenting to other staff members. If we are administrators, what we are presenting to our staff. We want to make sure we are all on the same page as far as what bullying is and what it is not. And so the definition is there. And we also focus in on the three main elements or components that we look for when we are looking to substantiate a bullying situation. We see imbalance of power. There are several types of imbalances of power, but we look in for that. We also look for repetition or the possibility for repetition. And then we also want to make sure that these things are deliberate or purposeful, intentional. We don't want situations to come up where there's maybe just miscommunication or two friends or, in a tiff, but there's really deliberate, intentional meanness and harm going on. You will also see the types of bullying. There are 4 main types of bullying that we highlight in JCPS. And for this month, we thought it fitting because we are using a distance learning platform. We are on our computers a lot, that we highlight cyberbullying. And so you can see that there. We will always give you tidbit or some sort of factoid or quote about the subject that we're talking about. And because we are trauma informed, we work with Dr. Lamisa Marks and her SEL trauma informed crew very closely. We've been trauma informed trained, and we want to make sure that we're giving you that trauma lens for teachers, making sure that everyone's seeing that. So just a little blurb there in order to kind of get your mind thinking in another way. All right. So now I'm going to turn it over to my awesome resource teacher, Brittany Nip, and she's going to share with you about the NTI support links that are here for you teachers.
Thank you, Crystal. All right, so we're going to focus just for a little bit on the support links and different resources that we have come up with that might make this transition a little bit easier. If you go, like Crystal said, to the NTI Teacher Toolkit, you will find a bullying picture that you see on the left of your screen. If you click on that, it will open and give plenty of NTI teacher support resources. And within this folder, for example, there's tips for using social media, support for working with parents and students, different videos about cyberbullying and the different platforms of social media, as well as some online safety. So we thought it would be a good reminder to go over the top 10 things a teacher can do to have a more positive experience with remote learning. And I know this picture isn't very clear because it's just a snippet, but if you go to your teacher toolkit, it is in there and it's bigger. So I'm going to go quickly through each of these just to kind of give you some tips. I know you just finished your second week, but these are good tips to just keep in the back of your mind, or if you're already implementing them, then pat yourself on the back because that is excellent. So number one, just make sure you familiarize yourself with JCPS policies and really using the correct platforms such as Google Hangouts, Google Meet, and Google Classroom, because we know that those are pretty safe and the district supports those platforms. Consider your surroundings, especially if you're live with your students. Make sure there's not a lot of distractions around you. I know it's hard because we're all working from home and you might have young kids or a pet or something. So just try to make your surrounding as peaceful and calm as you can, especially if you're live with your students. It's really important too during this time to keep the classroom expectations. And you might have to adjust those for distance learning because it is different. So if you had expectations in your classroom, maybe talk with your kids about how could these expectations change because we are learning remotely now. But it's really important for kids to still know what you expect and have some consistency every day. Make sure, excuse me, that your communication is clear and that you're using the Google platforms and that your students know how to use those as well. And if you have to help parents out, please take the time to do that because most of them are not used to using Google Meets, Google Calls, and that's really helpful as a parent. Make sure that what you're wearing is professional. Obviously, you don't have to be, super fancy, but just make sure your clothing's appropriate because the kids are looking at you as their teacher and seeing you in a totally different light. So just a reminder to keep that in mind. Make a schedule for your class so that they know every morning you're going to have a morning meeting, even if it's on Google Meet, or you're going to have math from 10 to 11. Again, going back to consistency and organization because that really will help kids thrive in this unknown time. Make sure the technology you're assigning and using is appropriate for all kids in your class. And remember those kids that might not have available technology or a lot of parent support. Make sure there's other options for them so that they can be successful as well. Protect your personal data. So make sure you're using your school email and you're not giving your kids any of your personal information that wouldn't be appropriate if you were in the classroom with them. Consider the needs of all your students, so your ECE kids, your ESL kids, and the diversity you're going to have to provide as a teacher. This brings a whole new level. So just again, creating those relationships, having conversations with your students, and really thinking about all of their needs. And most importantly, try to just make it as fun and engaging as possible. Yes, we're all in a new normal, but it can still be exciting for kids to learn. You might be their only normal. And make sure you're providing some type of feedback to them. Even if they're not turning in everything you're giving to them, or you're not particularly looking for a grade, please give them some type of feedback. It just helps them feel a connection to you and also gives them more purpose. So we're going to move into, like Crystal said, cyberbullying was our focus in our newsletter this month. And we're going to just review. If we've been in your classrooms, we talk about cyberbullying with all students. And this is just a quick reminder, but it's something that we have to remember because technology is at the hands of our students even more now. So cyberbullying is defined as willful and repeated harm inflicted through the use of computers, cell phones, and other electronic devices. And we have some statistics to share that you might not be aware of, or you might, and they are kind of alarming for this time in our lives. But about 37% of young people between the ages of 12 and 17 have been bullied online. About half of our LGBTQ students experience online harassment. 60% of young people have seen bullying happen online and they do nothing. They do not intervene. And only 1 out of 10 who are bullied online will tell an adult or a parent. So we did a training the other day with parents, and we really talked to them about opening that conversation, having an honest conversation with your child about cyberbullying, because like I said, they have technology in their hands 24/7 now. So teachers, this is a great time for you to do a cyberbullying lesson or remind students that they can be the change. They can tell an adult and they have the right to do that. So it's really important to take that time while we have the time to open the conversation up about this and use some of those resources in the teacher toolkit. So there's various platforms that cyberbullying can take place on, whether it's email, instant messaging, direct messaging within your Google Classroom, on their cell phone through text messages, social networking sites, blogs, web pages, chat rooms or discussion groups, and a lot of interactive gaming sites. So there are so many more platforms that students have available that we might not even be aware of. So it's good for all of us just to remind ourselves how available these things are. And Steve's going to talk about next the different age restrictions for these platforms.
All right, thanks, Brittany. Like Brittany was saying, these apps here that you're seeing, this is just a drop in the bucket for the amount of apps that are out there. I'm sure as we've sat here for the last 15, 20 minutes, we've probably got 20 new apps out there. So these are just some of the age restrictions that we found for some of the most popular ones right now. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Google, Tumblr, Reddit, Snapchat, and Secret. You have to be 13 years old to legally have an account through them. LinkedIn, 14 years old. WhatsApp, 16. Vine and Tinder is 17. And then YouTube, Foursquare, WeChat, Keek, Flickr, Kik, and Path, you have to be 18 years old. And these ages are put on here for safety of the children. A lot of parents don't realize that there are age restrictions. So you might want to remind your parents, these are out there. Okay. So we found that some of the most reported cyberbullying takes place in these here. Instagram was number one. That's where you have lots of pictures and videos. And we know what happens when you get pictures and videos and teenagers together. Instagram is really terrible for that. TikTok is another one that's big right now with videos. Ask FM. This is one I hadn't heard of until we started researching, but this is where you can go in and ask anonymous questions. And that's kind of scary if you think about teenagers and being anonymous and all that. And especially this next one, Chat Roulette. This connects people randomly with webcams and video chats. So again, think about your young kids out there with webcams and video chats. connecting randomly with people. It's very scary. And then Sarah that's another one that allows anonymous messaging. And like I said, we all know what happens when things are anonymous. People could be a lot more mean. They lose inhibitions. So they think they won't get in trouble because no one knows who I am. So when we're in the classrooms, which is quite often, that's one of our major responsibilities is going in and teaching lessons on bullying. But one of the big things we always stress is each time you open the internet from any device, there's something called the Internet Protocol. And this is like a thumbprint, an electronic thumbprint. And it can be anytime you open that computer or device, anything you do on that device can be traced. Postings are traceable, they're downloadable, they're printable, and sometimes they're even against the law. And so when we tell our students this, you should see their eyes. You teachers, you've seen us come in and talk to your students about this, so you see their responses. But I think they are floored when they realize, oh, this is against the law. And so one of my big things I always say is think before you send. If you have something on your phone that you would not show your parents, your grandparents, your friends, your teachers, you probably shouldn't send it because it's probably not appropriate. And once you send it, you cannot take it back. Another thing I tell my students, you can smash that phone or computer or whatever into 10 million pieces, put it in a garbage disposal, throw it in a river, whatever. Whatever you sent is still out there. People take screenshots. People have it on their phones. They're showing people. They're sending it on. So that evidence is out there, even if you destroy it. So that's one of the major things we remind our students. And then, teachers, this is a good thing to help support your parents if they're struggling with social media sites or any issues. We just remind them to monitor their child's devices and all their social media accounts. Set boundaries, this is huge, and time limits on all devices. Hold the child accountable for their actions. And then we found some apps that are really good monitoring apps for parents. The first one's called Keepers. And this one detects bullying and abusive language or use of sexual or unsolicited conversations. So if any of that is detected on the child's device, we'll automatically send the parent an alert to let them know. The second one here is called Social Shield, and it's guardchild.com. Now this one is $10 a month, but you get a lot for that $10. It monitors your child's social networks on their phones, their tablets, their computers, even their school computers. It'll let you know if the child has made friends with someone who's posing as a child or someone who is registered as a sex offender. So this one can be very important. And then the last one here is Family Link. This is a Google extension. It lets you manage apps, view activity, and shows you teacher-approved sites and apps that can be directly placed onto a device. But the great thing about this one is it allows you to set up limits for screen time, and it also allows you to lock the devices during certain hours. So if you want to lock your child's device from bedtime, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock until they get up at 6 a.m., you can lock it. You're the only one that has control over that. And that one is free and it's on Google. So just some good resources for your parents if they're struggling with social media or any of those platforms. Now we're going to turn it back to Crystal, and she's going to take us home.
All right. We thank you for your time so far. What I want to do is I want to make sure, because again, a lot of people do not know that we even exist as a department. And so we want to make sure we're getting out to as many people as possible. What you see on the screen now is our one of our posters, one of our handouts for the bullying tip line. The phone number that you can call is here. That is 393-6780. This flyer that we hand out is good because it has the phone number, it has the definition of bullying. In red, you see those three main things that we're constantly putting out there to make sure that people know these are the three things that we're looking at as far as substantiation in a situation. And then also you can access it with the QR code that's at the bottom. And then it gives the information as far as JCPS and that we're a part of the Culture and Climate Department. So we want to show you this as one way we pass this out. And then also we've created some new things. We were going to pick these up right before all this stuff started, but we work with our materials and productions team in order to create these because we can get to our bully button from the JCPS main page. So I know the main page changes in the middle as far as what you see. So right now we have a lot of stuff about NTI, but at any given time, the same icons are still at the top and the bottom of the page. And so you can also report bullying on JCPS's website. So at the top right-hand corner, you see the red stop sign with the white B in it. You see the arrows pointing to it. And then also at the bottom right-hand, though the color is different, it is still the stop sign with the B in it. And so this is how you would get to reporting online, because this is 24/7. Some people don't like to speak with anybody, teachers, please encourage your students, if they don't want to talk about it, they don't want to say anything to anybody, they can do this on their computer, on their phone. They can go on the website and do this and report. They don't have to talk to anybody specifically. They can type everything. When you get into there, this is what the person would see. You as a teacher, if you want to share this with your family, students, this is what they would see once they got into that interfacing of the compliance hotline. So they would, again, there's several things that can be reported. We focus in on the bullying and harassment that's highlighted there with the red arrow, but they would go to the bottom left-hand portion to begin a report. They would type in their information and ask certain questions, and they go from there. And then if they needed to check in to see what was going on, or they wanted to add something to their reporting, they can go to follow up on a report. And it is really important, teachers, to make sure that you know and make sure that your families know that they need to keep up with the ID number that they're going to get at the end. After you type everything in and you report, you will receive an ID number, and you will also receive an access number. That access code is what gets you back into this. And no one else has it besides the person that is reporting. And of course, I receive it to my desktop when I receive all the reports. And so we don't give these back out. If they lose it, we go through a certain protocols in order to get identified, making sure we're talking to the right person about each of those tip line reports. So teachers, please let your families know about this, and also make sure you let them know it is imperative that they hold on to their case ID and their access code. Right? So as we begin to close this out, we just want to show you a quick video. We always encourage, like Brittany said, when we go out to your classrooms, we want to encourage your students, and we want to encourage you to encourage your students to advocate for themselves. They don't have to wait on you, teachers. They don't want to have to wait on their parents. They can be the change that is taking place in JCPS. They can be the change that's taking place at their school. They can be the change that's taking place in the classroom. They can be the change that's taking place within them as an individual. And so we just want to show you this quick video. And this is a great way, teachers, to open up conversation. When students see cartoon-like things, it's not as challenging for them to kind of open up in conversation. Sometimes when we show them too much, it becomes overwhelming. But sometimes we just show a simple cartoon, something simple. It really can get their mind opened up and start conversation. And so we'll go from here, and then we'll close it out. Right, thank you so much. We are going to come back. And before we close out, I just want to make sure that I show you guys one more time. If you have any questions, I'm looking at the chat. I see a lot of responses, but I don't see any specific questions. So if we have any questions, you can go ahead now. But I've just seen great feedback. So thank you so much to those that are watching. Thank you for the feedback. And again, we want to give our information so we can move on. We are here at Bullying Prevention. I'm Crystal Carter. My resource teachers are Steve and Brittany, and our clerk is Janet Young. So we'll get that turned back over to you.
Yes, and before you all go, I do want to show your lovely faces. There is Brittany. I know you just turned your camera on, so I just want to give you your time to shine. Thank you so much, Brittany, for joining us and speaking to us, as well as there is Stephen. Stephen, thank you so much for again presenting on this topic. I know this topic is very dear and special to a lot of our hearts. There were some wonderful comments, as you said, Crystal, about how great information this is and ways that you can access the bullying information. You can access that information through the JCPS website as well as on the NTI support page. Again, thank you. This really was a special moment in my heart because I too was bullied when I was growing up, and I have overcome that as well. So again, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And before you all sign off, I do want to again show you where those resources can be found. If you go to JCPS NTI support page, there is the teacher toolkit. And as it was stated, you can get to the bullying prevention materials from the JCPS website or from the JCPS NTI support page. Also, their resources are linked to their name. So again, if you go to Teacher Toolkit, click on Virtual Training Schedule, you will go down to their name and you can click on to receive those presentations. This concludes our time with you all live on demand. The next 30 minutes will be over voiceovers and Google Slides. So if you need any additional support with how to include those voiceovers in Google Slides, that is a great video by Elaine Abanatha, and she created that video. And I'm sure that you will all learn a lot. Next week starts it up for round 3. We have a lot of sessions, a lot of great sessions for you all. Google Classroom, Google Meet updates will be on next week. ECE Behavior Part 3, that will also be live next week as well. Thank you again for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at JCPSDI or tag us in JCPS Dig In for digital innovation, and we will make sure that we follow you all back. And you can always catch us at jcpsdigitallearning.com. I wish that everyone have a great weekend. Enjoy your time. Enjoy the meditation that we all learned about. And we will see you live here Monday morning at 9 a.m. Have a great day.